The enclosed discipline sets its stamp, its pattern, upon its students. The pattern is susceptible to analysis and prediction. Now, motivational patterns are going to be similar among all espionage agents. That is to say, there will be certain types of motivation that are similar despite differing schools or opposed aims. You will study, first, how to separate this element for your analysis. In the beginning, through interrogation patterns that betray the inner orientation of the interrogators. Secondly, by close observation of language, thought orientation of those under analysis. You will find it fairly simple to determine the root languages of your subjects, of course, but through voice, inflection, and speech pattern. Speech pattern analysis study, Bene Gesserit training manual. Welcome back to the Dune Saga, everyone. This is Season 3 of our Dune campaign here on the Stolen Fires channel. I am Eric Edmond Recluse Online, your game master for this epic multi-arc adventure series, which continues tonight with our 5th storyline, Leviathan. As a content warning, this program features adult situations and language and may not be suitable for all ages. Listener discretion is advised. A very warm welcome and salutation to new and old viewers alike to the Stolen Fires channel here on Twitch, where there's always a Let's Play or RPG live play to look forward to. Special music shoutouts for tonight go to Pixabay, Infraction, aka Kevin MacLeod for Midnight Tale, Repulsive Sound, The Whole Other, Tabletop Audio, and Bleer Moon for the use of their excellent music. You can find more awesome ambient sounds and tunes over at inaudio.org, secretpress.bandcamp.com, music.youtube.com, pixabay.com/music, and SoundCloud. Many thanks to Modifius Entertainment for making awesome games for us to play. I want to thank Roll20 for the use of their virtual tabletop platform, which is perfect for hosting games just like Dune Adventures in the Imperium. And as always, we want to give a big thanks to our fans and viewers for tuning in. Our house entourage is here and ready to engage in the deadliest of intrigues. Agents of the Imperium, remind our audience who you are, where they can find you online, and who you will be playing this evening. Beginning with Ambrose.
Hey everybody, I'm Ambrose. My pronouns are he or they. You can find me all over the internet as AmChangeling. And you can find me right here, right now, on Stolen Fires. You can also find me on Etsy at Thornkind, and tonight I shall be playing Zoshir Tabr, whose pronouns are he, him, who is also Tiberius, one of the Tiberii.
Tiberii.
I don't know.
Aaron.
Hello everyone, it is so wonderful to be back after a week of absence due to Thanksgiving celebrations. My name is Aaron. You can find me pretty much everywhere as Great Cthulhu. My pronouns are anything except he, him. Tonight I will be reprising my favorite role of recent history, this bitch, Eloise Cheshire.
Excellent. Leo.
Sorry.
Leo, you're muted. Okay.
Coughing fit, my bad. Anyways, my name is Leo. You can find me at Leo of the Black here on Twitch. And today I am playing the ever-scheming Archibald Librius.
Devin.
Hello all, I am Devin, sort of sullied on the Bird app. And today I am consort in the morning, Bene Gesserit at the afternoon, and future cult leader at night, Norma.
Excellent. Key.
Hello, I am Kisama. You can find me on Twitter at TrueKisama, unless I find you first. And tonight, we'll be playing Pardot Reed. Mentat.
Last but certainly not least, Rachel.
Hello, my name is Rachel. I'm Stolen Fires pretty much everywhere, including here. And tonight I will be playing Lady Daphne, who just wants everyone to get along.
Excellent. All right, now for a very short recap of the previous session. Ambrose, if you would do so, do the honors.
Gladly. Tonight's story opens on Archibald and the pirates. These are no common pirates, but dangerous men like those he knew at the garden. Yet, they are also desperate exiles promised unrefined spice in exchange for murder. After the guild navigator demands assurances, Archibald offers to prove himself. He designed his soldiers' training regimen himself, after all, But no one recognizes nobility here, so the rules of Conley and formal dueling do not apply. One of Reese's men threatens a restrained Yeva with an industrial cutter, a tool capable of cutting through bone. Can Archibald provide the same amount of melange offered for his death? No? Just before Yeva loses a hand to the cutter, the navigator commands them to stop and invites Archibald to speak. Archibald wants to help them liberate Tupile. He thinks imprisonment, especially of innocent descendants, is wrong. And he has the atomics to back it up. Reese seems to believe. The navigator whispers visions of Arrakis and Atreides and Cheshire and Archibald. Reese makes a counter-offer and reveals a man with a disfigured face contracted the hit. Amulet? No. Omelas. Well then, how good is Archibald at playing dead? Back on Arrakis, nobles confer over spiced coffee after Commander Salgalat takes his leave. Perhaps a harvester can be redesigned to float, or the worm might be lured or poisoned. Lady Daphne offers Cheshire ornithopters to scout, but regrets they cannot carry the necessary payloads. Nikolai suggests petitioning the Landsraad for aid, and offers he and Daphne might draw a petition together. She agrees and invites him to visit her at Erkine in a few days. Daphne reviews what she knows of him: a house retainer, son of the late Rena and Boris, envoy of House Gliss, and she noticed when he removed his gloves to sip his coffee with strangely disfigured fingers. A Samuta addiction? Or perhaps something else? As for the houses, Randama will phone it all in, while Chol and Rane are all in and Gliss plays politics. Daphne recognizes that Rane and Nava, Christians, believing in multiple space Jesuses. Space Jesi? Ridiculous. During the day, Zoshir and his Fremen arrive at Erkine, Zoshir's mind still reeling from the Tau orgy as he's introduced to the House Mentat, Pardot Reed. Earlier today, Pardot saw a distraught Eloise leave the palace. She and Namir are taking a ground car to somewhere. Norma, he spotted speaking with the Fenrings before she, Lady Margot, and Massam peeled off to discuss something. Tiberius has not been seen since he left. Zoshir and his Fremen are slightly scandalized by not only the finery, but water left uncovered. Pardot notices their reaction as he introduces himself. The discussion seems friendly and wary in equal measure. When the Mentat asks after Tiberius, the response causes him to do a spit take, further scandalizing the Fremen. He has no issues with dual loyalties, but maintains he has not released Tiberius from service to House Cheshire. The Fremen are curious what the man means to the Mentat. Purdy believes they were lovers, but Pardot decides to reveal the truth in a gesture of good faith. He did not know who Tiberius was until several months ago, when he became Tiberius. When all the Harkonnen are dead, then he will release Tiberius. Well, dead Harkonnen are Zoshir's goal too. He clarifies they are more than hitmen. After all, they understand Arrakis in a way no one else in the Imperium does. Purdy asks if they are all Tiberius now, which fires up Pardot's imagination. It's those machine elves. Zoshir begins speaking of a secret rogue group of Fremen. Nalia tries to stop him, but Zoshir has decided to trust Pardot. He speaks of the Idwali, the misfits and murderers who are somehow necessary to removing the Harkonnen from Arrakis. Pardot notices the other Fremen make warding gestures. He declares them all Tiberius. Zoshir suggests the Mentat study Fremen water etiquette. Just then, Mossam interrupts. Something happens when Zoshir and Mossam's eyes meet. Some kind of deja vu which both feel. Mossam says he knows Zoshir. Doesn't he? That evening, as Daphne returns to her quarters and begins to unwind, she realizes someone is in her room. Wait, no, it's the captive that she rescued. He tells his name and that he is a Fremen leader. He confirms the Harkonnen will soon leave for Arrakis in favor of the Atreides, seemingly pleased to be the one to tell Daphne this choice bit of political gossip. She reassures him the Atreides at least don't have torture dungeons, then closely questions him about Kyra. He considers himself neither an enemy nor an ally. That satisfies Daphne for now. However, at dinner, a messenger delivers some bad news. Count Archibald and his wife perished on the return from Caladan. Cause unknown. She's visibly distraught, but Pardot leans over and whispers the contents of another letter. Whatever the ending is, it makes her angry. Later, he whispers another analysis. Archibald is not dead. Well, Daphne will continue the ruse for now. Pardot has Zoshir as Tiberius accompany her to the spaceport to claim the remains. A flashback. Reese hands vials to Archibald and Yeva, poison which mimics the appearance of death. Yeva has made her viewpoint clear. She thinks this is all a terrible plan, from trusting a rogue navigator to using atomics. But the atomics aren't Archibald's first option. He wants to use diplomacy first, and utilize the planet's residents as soldiers. Cheers. They drink. Back at the spaceport, Daphne demands to see the person in charge of Highliner security. He's a mercenary, brushing off her demands to know what happened. Perhaps he was poisoned on Caladan. She insists loudly that the bodies have a full, thorough autopsy, then warns Temerius to be alert in case what she said flushes anyone out. Privately, Daphne meets with Dr. Sloan and relays the suggestion of poison. He brings out a snooper and identifies the toxin. On Daphne's orders, he administers a drug to awaken them sooner. She tells him to stay in this room for the duration of 2 thorough autopsies, then keep the door locked until they wake up. They'll have a small family service on Arrakis and a larger memorial so his loyal soldiers can grieve him on Jabberwock. In the interim, Daphne has business with Stilgar. She finds him on her balcony looking wistfully out over the city. His friends call him Still, he says. What should he call her? Well, if she can call him Still, he can call her Daphne. She then tells him everything she knows of Sagalot's plans involving the White Worm. Everything. After she relates all this, Stilgar asks her to have a Ridulian crystal delivered. Daphne calls up Pardot, saying she has another job for Tiberius. Pardot summons the Tiberi and hands the crystal to Zoshir. He takes Hurdy with him, wondering what business the Cheshires have at Sietch Tabr. But as soon as they land, unseen hands seize the two and demand answers. The crystal is loaded into a projector, and the Sietch rejoices when they see Stilgar. he's not dead. Zoshir is surprised when he's done this errand on behalf of Stilgar himself, when one of the men introduces himself. He's called Duncan. Back at the palace, Archibald and Yeva wake up. Yeva whispers next to him how much she hates him right before Dr. Sloan opens their coffins and welcomes them back to the land of the living, and provides Yeva with a helpful receptacle when she loses her lunch. When Daphne arrives, she brings water and comments that when Yeva washes her mouth out and spits, that's a grave sin. Yeva can't help but take a few swipes at Daphne, but the Duchess focuses on her uncle. Archibald names Omelas as the one behind the hijacking. Daphne speaks of the former advisor with some bitterness, apparently blaming him for her mother's death. But when he says the price was unrefined spice, Daphne leans over and whispers to Pardot if they ever found out who stole the bribe. When he answers, she asks if he's damn sure. Of course he is. Daphne explains it wasn't Omelas, it was Afkardis, imposter, trying again to divide the house against itself. Elsewhere on the city, Reese and a few companions leave in a ground car. Somehow they know exactly where to go. A junkyard where a lone figure waits. Reese demands his spice and wants to know what game the figure is playing. As Reese's men examine the cases of spice, they explode. That's when the figure turns on Reese and shoots him with 3 small barbs. To Reese as he dies. I already have, says the figure.
Thank you for reading that, Ambrose, and thank you as always, Rachel, for those excellent notes you take. We can continue with Leviathan. I suppose we're going to begin in the palace as a new day dawns on Arrakis. Where the sun rises, something else rises instead. Before the sun comes over the cliffs and the shield wall and illuminates the city of Arakeen. That would be Pardot Reed. Security Captain Jaromir Hajan meets you as you start walking about the palace, doing your regular duties in the morning. Sir, I have a report. Hands you a series of Redulian crystal sheets that detail everything that has happened in the city as far as your security apparatus was able to absorb it. There's the occasional mugging and, shootout or an issue with the local constabulary and armed thugs and whatnot, a revolt, typical theft that takes place in the marketplace. Nothing terribly unusual. One thing that catches your eye, however, is an explosion that took place in the lower quarters, near the palace. Just a short ways away. 6 people dead by an explosion, and the 7th having been killed by some sort of a projectile at close range. No sign of the perpetrators or perpetrator, but that's what was reported late last night. Really just hours after the entourage had visited the spaceport to retrieve Archibald and Yeva's corpses. How do you respond?
Pardot, at first, starts saying, like, oh, this is terrible, it's within the margin of crime that is expected of a city, but this is peculiar.
Military-grade explosives, as our people reported from the field, sir.
prepare a ground car. I would like to see this crime scene personally.
Very good, sir. Right away. Will the Tiberius, will Tiberius be accompanying you, sir?
Yes. Yes, he
Very
will.
good. He gets on a communinet, and servants scramble. Eventually, an armed guard goes and pounds on the door, as he's been taught. When someone says Tiberius, you knock on these 3 doors that are adjacent to one another in the guest wing. A disheveled Hurdy opens the door. What is this cacophony? And another door slides open, and Nalia eventually looks around and goes to collect Zoshir, who is not there, who is currently with... Oh, sorry. You're not there, are you? That's right.
Am I?
No, you're
I've
not.
lost track of my Tiberius.
You're
That's right. Hey,
partying
so
with
have I,
Duncan,
apparently.
Idaho.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. Oh, the 3 of you went to Sietch Tabr. So they pound on the doors and there's no response. And they're like, is there anybody here? They use the palm lock. They check inside. Sir, there's no one here. Tiberius,
What?
or the 3 that you are asking for are not currently in the palace. And you're like, oh, right. They're my secret police people that I sent the previous evening.
Simultaneously too many Tiberii and not enough Tiberii.
This is correct. Will you go down there by yourself?
I believe I am more than capable. I will go alone.
Okay. You board the ground car, takes you to the streets of Arakeen, but you get a lot of looks, this hover car heading into town. You go to this area not too far away from the palace. So it's essentially a large dump. There's chassis of old ground cars and derelict ships that have been abandoned here and towed here from the spaceport. It's just a waste. It's a wasteland. It's a landfill. The area in question where the explosion took place, they pointed out to you, and it's been cordoned off by local security. They bring you over, and they're like, "This is where it happened." They have sheets over the bodies and stuff like that with these things that tack down the sheets so that nothing, no sand or anything like that gets on the bodies themselves. Do you want to examine the bodies personally, sir? Dr. Sloan's lab, perhaps? Out here, it's a little difficult, and he says, the wind is blowing in his face. Sure.
Before we do so, I need to get an understanding of the scene itself. There was an explosion.
Correct.
It's important to ensure that everything is a direct cause and effect here.
You can make a discipline observation, or you can use your talent if you want to spend some momentum, because you currently are sitting on 4 momentum at the moment.
Could I argue an understand role with deductive reasoning as my focus?
Sure.
Excellent.
Absolutely. 2 minimum.
Truth as my drive, because I do not
Sounds...
know these individuals, so justice might not work out as a personal drive.
And was Pardot present at the starport when Daphne and the rest of the entourage went to collect Archibald?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to get that one under my hat. Go ahead and roll. You got a 19 and a 1. Did you have a statement for truth? Did you like to spend a determination point, or are you just going to be like, eh?
It's just 1 success.
Just 1. You need at least 2.
Oh. Tragedy.
You're like, gang violence, probably. Who knows? But you do notice something
was an
interesting.
explosion.
That thing exploded. You look, there were these big metal crates that are used typically for packing freight aboard shuttles and transports, and some sort of explosive was packed inside. So it was a giant grenade went off in the vicinity of about 6 people and killed all of them instantly, shredded them to pieces. The other one, though, the 7th figure, face down on the pavement. They pull the sheet over. You do recognize this guy. He was the so-called envoy that you all met at the starport when you went to go collect Archibald and Yeva. He was the mercenary that didn't feel very interested in answering any questions for the Duchess.
Asshole.
These crimes, they must be connected, but how?
How would you like to proceed, Master Menta?
I believe all the information I could gather has been gathered. We are
Very well, sir. We'll send the bodies to
clean up
Dr.
this crime
Sloan to
scene.
look over if you wish.
Good.
He packs up everything, and if you don't have anything else that you wanted to do here, you can pack it up, get it back into the ground car, and go where you wish.
Pardot gets back into the ground car, staring at the crime scene, or what remains of it, the entire time. Just this inkling feeling that he's missing something. There's a piece that was at that scene that may very well be gone now. And he sits and contemplates for the entire ride back to the palace.
Very good. Yeah, you're still thinking about it when you get back. Daphne, after the confrontation that you had in the bowels of the palace in Dr. Sloan's lab with Archibald and Yeva, where did you sleep that evening?
Probably her own quarters.
Okay. It was
Like
I guess
there's
you can
probably
say
like a
it's
little pull-out or couch for Stilgar to sleep on. We're not quite there yet.
Yes, in this universe, like everything is it always like folds away into the wall or comes out of the floor or something like that. It's all very compact and clean in that way. So yeah, you certainly pull out your own ways of sleeping in your quarters. While I'm assuming you afford Stilgar the larger of the 2 beds that are in the room.
Yeah, he's been through a lot. He can sleep on the nicer bed.
Sure. There's obviously some awkwardness with this. I mean, obviously Stilgar's a man who is like not accustomed to sleeping in such finery. As a matter of fact, after you finish pulling out and get finished gathering your things for the evening, you walk back out of the refresher and you find him sleeping on the floor like a caveman. Like he just kind of gathers his things into a pack and just kind of sleeps on it. Because he's probably used to this. He's probably used to sleeping on the floor and not living with such finery. He doesn't know what to do with himself on something so comfortable as your very large and very spacious and comfortable bed. How does Daphne react to that?
You can sleep on the floor if you would prefer, but you don't have to.
It is what I am accustomed to. Don't you sleep? Well, I suppose you don't. You're out-frame. You don't know our ways. That thing that you have there is that is not a sufficient place to sleep. I fear that I will sink right through it and go right through the floor. So I prefer to sleep on the floor because I know it is there and it is firm.
I have slept on it many nights and have sunk nowhere, but is there anything I can do to see to your comfort on the floor?
You've already done so much already. He says something in his language. He's like, I owe you tremendously for what you have done, but I cannot take what is yours. What is yours, and what is mine is mine. You've given me my life and my liberty.
You are my guest, and I am your hostess, and among my culture, it is common that a hostess sees that her guests want for nothing.
I see. It's like So you are the Duchess of your tribe, you say?
I am.
And it's like a... Are you, Are you, a first or second wife to your mate? And will he be joining us as well?
I am unmarried.
Are you?
I lead in my own name.
You must tell me about your tribe. Perhaps I can tell you about mine. And perhaps then I can bring you to our Sietch. And I can introduce you to my wife, Thartar.
Daphne tries to hide the disappointment when she hears wife. God damn it.
Can still have a consort.
So he's like, I shall see you in the morning then, and then I shall not be a bother to you or your tribe. I will be able to walk. Once I am able to walk on my own power out of this palace, I shall do so. And I shall extend an invitation to you and your people for my Sietch, should you wish to visit it.
I would very much like to. And I don't want to insult you, but we can also provide an ornithopter so you get to your siege faster.
Yes, this is acceptable. I will see you then on the morrow, Daphne.
Have a good
And he
evening.
goes back to sleeping on the floor. In the morning, when you wake up, he's gone. Like, he's already gotten up and he's walked out onto the palace. And you know that he's still walking around the palace when you hear the servants jumping over themselves, trying to keep him contained. Or, excuse me, sir, where do you think you're going? Like, you hear like grand commotion. People, like one servant, like you can audibly hear them dropping and spilling over their carts and things all over the floor as they're like, oh my god, who are you? What are you doing in here?
Daphne will poke her head out. He's a guest. Please see to him as best you can.
Yes, of course. Right this way, sir. We have food in the downstairs. You see, one of the servants is joined by the Mapes, who of course comes like, and says something to him in their language and motions for him to follow her down the stairway. You see, as she sends some of her handmaidens to help guide him to where he needs to go, she approaches you. Your Grace, will you have some other people here in the palace who recently arrived this morning. I don't know if you were expecting them or not, but there are some people that have walked into the conservation observatory, the greenhouse, as it were.
Who?
They did not give their name, I'm afraid. But it seems that Count Fenring and his lady were expecting them.
I'll be right there.
And she turns and leaves. What do you do now that you have the morning to yourself for right now?
Make myself presentable and then go see who's in the conservatory.
Okay. There's the usual people down here. There are people who are tending the large amounts of greenery that are here. They're very meticulously cutting dead leaves and, sprinkling precious water onto them, making sure that everything is kept up to par. You're looking around and you don't see anyone with finery on as you're walking around in here. Just the people that are employed to work in the greenhouse. You happen to walk down some of the many avenues in the conservatory, and you look at some of the shrubbery and flora and the fauna that's here. When you hear a voice coming from nearby, elegant, ravishing, radiant. The plants are nice too, I suppose, he says. Turn to see who it is. You see this guy, who introduces himself as Varys Zavan. My name is Varys Zavana. I represent House Chol. You must be the Duchess Daphne, the one I heard so many things about. I'm glad to see that you are safe and not worse for wear. The incident with the Fremen here at the palace has been talk of Arakeen. I have to thank you for saving the life of fellow retainer Nuri Randama. Our Conans, I know, can be difficult clients to work under. My house has been involved in trying to design a new type of spice harvester that will address the issue of worm attacks. Back home on Anitis, we took great care to respect the land and the creatures that thrived on it while still utilizing that land and extracting the resources we needed to sustain and better our society. The flora and fauna here, I have to say, is lovely. The level of detail and work that goes into maintaining its pristine state is exemplary. If you're interested in the somewhat implausible concept of growing this type of greenery on Arrakis, one might do well to seek the expert on this subject, the Imperial planetologist, Dr. Wei Kynes. While I only met her briefly, she seemed quite knowledgeable about Arrakis and its various biomes.
My goodness, that's quite a lot of information to process.
My apologies. I had some spiced coffee this morning on the flight over.
I'm very pleased to meet you. Thank you for the lovely compliments and the recommendation for Dr. Kynes.
Dr. Kynes, yes, the Imperial planetologist. She's somewhat of a flighty figure. I've only been out of Arrakis for a few weeks now, but she's a rather difficult person to track down. But I do believe that Count Fenring has first-hand contact with Dr. Kynes.
I'll have to avail myself of that.
Indeed. I heard that House Cheshire went through a lot this past year, and hopefully those troublesome times are behind you. Perhaps now on Arrakis one can look forward to filling such a dark void of your life with something a little bit more hopeful.
All right, I want to use passive scrutiny on this guy.
Sure.
The fuck is
Roll.
his deal?
What is his deal?
So what kind of role would that be?
Well, discipline observation, I would imagine.
Okay.
Oh, passive scrutiny wasn't a roll, though.
Passive scrutiny, I believe, is a talent.
It is a talent.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, it makes stealth rolls and things like that that much more difficult. I could be wrong about that.
Oh God.
You know nothing.
You rolled a
Jonas.
1 and you rolled a 10 and a 20. You know, you're looking for you're waiting for somebody to jump out at you like, oh, this motherfucker, he's a sleazy one, but nothing really assaults you. I mean, he wears a lot of jewelry as far as peculiarities go, but that's not terribly peculiar among the nobility, certainly. And the more you try to look for something like, what's this guy's angle? Like, you're studying his body language, but he seems to be fairly amicable. He's got his hands folded behind his back. He's facing you. He's not facing away from you. He's somewhat direct, but in a respectful manner. He's not bad looking either, from what you can tell. You're like, hey, this guy's not I've never heard of this guy before, but you can actually make a understand politics. This is a little bit of an obscure background for this guy, but you can roll it.
We have another contestant on The Price is Right.
Ooh.
Come on down.
Hi
3.
there.
Yeah. Okay. So you get a momentum for that one, and you see you look at his outfit, and you catch sight of a crest of some sort, like a griffin or something like that, and you're like, oh, I think I've heard of this guy before, or at least you've heard of his family. He was the son and sole heir of an Earl Lodos and Countess Vasa, and he's also a retainer for House Chol, which is actually not a minor house any longer. It appears to be a major house, or at least as of recent standings within the Landsraad. And supposedly he he had gotten into some sort of an accident or something like that that caused him to be hospitalized for some time, but he looks perfectly fine to you now. This incident apparently occurred several years ago, like, upwards of 10 years ago. But he doesn't look like he's been, out of action for any amount of time.
All right. Is there any way to tell what does he want? Why is he here?
In this room specifically?
Yeah, like why do you make the trip here?
Okay. I mean, you can spend a point of momentum, I think, to obtain additional information.
I will do that.
Okay.
I think I
What
remember.
question would you like to ask?
4 now?
But yeah. Well, we're up to 4 now after the expenditure of the 1, so you can ask whatever question you want. I have to answer it truthfully.
What is he hoping to get out of this exchange?
He wants to have some sort of an alliance with your house. That's why he's here. He's not here to see the shrubbery or whatever. Although House Chol is the agriculture house, they are the authority here. So it makes sense for him to be here. And what he's saying seems pretty truthful, at least as far as like his authenticness. Like he really does admire the greenery here. It's kind of an astonishing. He says it's a miracle to see this kind of greenery in a place like Arrakis. But he did seem pretty genuine in what he was saying about you as well, and that you're radiant,
Well, by all means, be welcome here. Is there anything I can do for you?
Well, I would like to see you again.
We are seeing each other right now.
Of course.
Would not offer you coffee after you've had so much, but perhaps some water and refreshments. I'm interested to know what you think of our task.
Not impossible. Of course, I suppose the greater question would be whether we should commit to it on a moral basis. I would love to discuss more with you about this in private, perhaps, but I do have business with the Count and his lady. I am here to see them on some other matters, if you don't mind. Perhaps later, however.
I will not keep you. I would very much enjoy speaking with you later.
Of course. It's been enchanting. Another time. He turns and leaves. Is there anything specific that you do after he leaves?
Mostly just sit and ponder.
You're just thinking about this right now. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and also, what she learned yesterday, that apparently Off Cardis might still be active and still trying to get them, like, that's a big ass worry.
Yep. Been keeping you up at night. All right. Okay. Eloise. Are you ready for your exit interview?
Been dreading / excited for it all night. Let's go.
Excellent. A few days ago, you received a call on your community net. It was Hina, your manager. She was quite upset, and she wanted you and Amira to head to the embassy immediately. So you did. You followed your protocol, and when you arrived, Hina met with you in the lobby. I gave you your assignment. Edric wants a report immediately. Compile everything that you've learned in the short time that you've been on Arrakis, and provide that information to me. I, of course, am not privy to read it, but I am to deliver it to Junction, or have it delivered, rather. You have 2 days to put this report together and deliver it to me. Until that time, you and your agent are not to leave the premises of the embassy. Am I clear?
Crystal.
Good. Until then, she turns and leaves. You have your quarters afforded to you at the embassy, of course. Amira seems dismayed, well, on alert. She's like, this is unusual. What's happening here?
I don't know. they can't suspect anything. I've not played my hand. I've followed orders. I've revealed
This is
some
about the
truths.
Harkonnen Mentat. It has to be.
Of course it is. I'm sure Governor Raban has his panties in a twist.
Raban, he's a brute.
You think there's another?
With Harkonnens, always. There's always too many. She starts leading you up to your quarters. In the time that you're compiling your report for Adrico, do you do anything? Do you cite anything in the report? And if you do, what specifically do you cite?
For sure, I cite my Stoneburner vision, like fully every detail.
But this had nothing to do with your original mission.
Well, they
Arrakis.
did send me to investigate anomalies. Maybe this is one of the causes potentially.
Do you include your prescient visions and how they could potentially connect with the discovery of the Stoneburner?
Yes. The only ones I don't share are the ones that are directly tied to me.
What else do you cite? You cite any
Um,
individuals? Any specific ones?
I'll make mention of the aid of Tiberius and Pardot Reed of House Cheshire. I'll also make note of the three Fremen that assisted in retrieving of the spice bribe and the little bonus spice we got thanks to my intervention, of course.
Okay. So you're like these Nexus events that are taking place on Arrakis could have some connection to what we discovered here that involves the spice bribe, the Harkonnens bringing atomics onto the planet, and so on.
Yes.
Okay. You put all that in your report, and a couple days go by as you're putting this together. Eventually, you're finished. You're ready to hand in the report. And Amira is like, after this, what are we going to do? Are we going to stick around, or are we going to go back to Junction?
My plan is to tell them that my investigation is not complete, and hope that my quick success has earned me a little bit of leeway with them.
She sighs, like, "Oh, okay."
Is there somewhere
She was
you'd
hoping
rather
you
be?
were- Wherever you are, my love. But if I were to pick anywhere else but Arrakis, I would do so. This place is a death trap. You have to see that.
I know. My visions have gotten more intense since being here, and I'm worried that they've gone from potentialities to certainties.
You hand in your report.
Hmm.
Hina's like, "Stay. We'll send this off. Come into my office," she says. "Have a seat. Amira,
Okay.
and you," she says, pointing to Amira, "you wait outside." And Amira is like almost insistent about, going inside the office with you. And she's like, "No, I insist. This pertains solely for Eloise. Yours will come afterwards," she says.
So I know Amira has communications to at least Pardot Reed for sure via me. I'm going to really quickly in Cheshire language be like, send a message in case this is our denouement that the guild is in motion and they know something's up.
Yeah. She brings you in. Have a seat.
What's that?
She's like, she's just saying, she kind of sits by her desk. She kind of leans on and she's like, "I had hopes for you. Did you know that? On a personal assignment to a third stage navigator, your success would have translated into my success.
How have
You
I
had
failed?
real promise. Oh, I'm getting to that. You had real promise, despite your previous failures. The guild believes in second chances, and it believed in you. But the simple fact of the matter is that you let us all down with the colossal blunder you created with the Harkonnens here. I don't know what Edric assigned you with, but I'm certain it had nothing to do with pulling the Harkonnens into what is ultimately a guild issue. I need you to roll discipline difficulty 2.
Okay. I'm pretty good at discipline. Would self-control apply here?
I think self-control implies you. This is not something that involves you, however. But
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna go on a limb and assume duty is what I'm gonna be adding to this.
Sure.
Okay. How much momentum do we have?
You have 4.
Okay. I'll take 1. I'm confident.
Okay. What
I'll
is
take-
the difference between your truth statement, or sorry, your truth drive and your duty?
So my duty's 7, my truth is 5.
Okay, go ahead.
I am deeply concerned by that question, Eric. Thank you for that. All right. Discipline, duty, 3 days, and I can spend determination after the fact, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Not easy focus. Ooh, thank you. Ooh.
Well, very interesting. Okay. Okay. You earned that one. Okay, so that is 2, 3, 4. So you get 2 momentum back. Well done. Okay.
Red cat.
So here's something you don't see every day. The cool, calm as a cucumber Hina, your manager, is scared to death right now. She's pulled out her handkerchief and she's just like very absently wiping the sweat from her brow. She does so very subtly, of course. She tucks it back into her jacket, her uniform. She's standing there in the all-white uniform of the guild, and she's just like, and she's hiding something. Like, she's telling you all this, but she's holding something back. And she's not letting it go very easily. What would you like to do?
She's going to adopt a empathetic kind of meaning. Hina, I realize we didn't always see eye to eye. You look unwell, nervous. Is there something? Okay. I'm gonna assume deceit applies.
Yeah, it takes a liar to spot a liar, so go ahead and roll communication, difficulty 3.
I'm gonna call this justice because I'm pretty sure someone's trying to fuck me and no one fucks me. I'll roll straight. I won't spend any momentum.
All right. Hard to do on 2 dice. You got 2 successes. Did you want to spend a determination on their justice if you have a statement associated with it?
Yeah, my justice statement is I will have revenge on those who wrong me.
Oh, well then. You're full on momentum right now because of that, because you get 2 additional successes. You can spend some of that excess momentum if you wish before it disappears to obtain additional information. You can create a trait, whatever you want to do with it.
I'll whatever the overflow is, I'll spend to get. I'll spend the trait. I'll spend the momentum to add the trait under my thumb to Hina.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
So you approach it from an empathetic standpoint, and you're like, you don't look very good. Are you okay? I can't type with gloves on. All right. It's a good Rolling Stones song. Okay, you Like, all right, what's going on? Are you all right? And she just kind of looks at you and she looks into your eyes, and for a moment there is a passing glimmer of like empathy in return. Like she identifies with your, what you're trying to do, but then like this other nervousness rises up in her, and she almost starts lashing out at you, but she does so in the most professional manner possible. The Harkonnen Mentat, Alexei Gim, they found him in the streets with his kidneys removed and a mouthful of spice. The very Mentat that was dispatched to deal with House Cheshire's recent kidnapping attempt by the Fremen. House Cheshire. The same Mentat who supposedly told Raban that one Eloise Cheshire and her agent were engaged in securing a bribe to the guild. The governor is not known for his cunning, but his uncle is. Shortly after this little revelation, he contacted the Baron, and shortly after that, he contacted me. Either the guild is reported to the Emperor and Chom, forced to retroactively pay countless Solaris back to them for untold years, or we keep this entire debacle within the guild. Tell me, what would you have done in the situation, Eloise?
Well, she'll reach behind herself. My spine's intact, so I think you know my answer.
Oh, sick burn. Well, I shall not have to wonder any longer. You are being relieved of your duties and titles with the guild. You are no longer Eloise Cheshire, steerswoman and agent of the guild. You are now just Eloise Cheshire, a failure to the guild and her family. You will remove yourself from these premises within 1/4 of an hour. Your personal assistant will be reassigned to Junction without you. If you want to appeal our decision, I suppose you take it up with Edric and higher management. Should Amira refuse, she too will be stripped of her title and access and removed from the embassy, effective immediately.
I'll just take her with me now then.
She makes this she doesn't dismiss you. Like for a moment there is like a sense that she pities you, or she didn't want to do this. Like she looks bad, and her whole thing was like, you're gonna make me look good to the management on Junction. I'm gonna get a promotion. This is gonna be great. I have a 3rd stage navigator sending an agent to my embassy, and everything's gonna work out fine. And then all this whole thing collapsed right in front of her eyes. The Harkonnens know about the spice bribe now. Holy shit. So she doesn't say anything. She doesn't dismiss you. She doesn't do anything petty like that. She just kind of lowers her gaze and stares at the floor and buzzes a button on her desk, and the doors open. And the guild security ushers in Amira for her exit interview.
As I hit the threshold of the door, I'm going to glance back at Hina and say, I just want you to know, I've had so many visions since I've been on Arrakis, and you're in none of them. And then I leave.
Oh. You are irrelevant.
It's Amira's turn, obviously. The doors shut or closed. They have a very short, quiet confrontation, and she walks out of there in record time.
Is literally just waiting. Yeah.
You're just waiting outside, and it takes less than 5 minutes. You don't even think, you're not sure because you can't hear through the thick oaken doors, but you're pretty sure Hina doesn't even finish the paragraph before Amira takes off the lapel and throws it on her desk and turns and leaves. Right? She comes out and she's stoic as always, but you can tell that this is affecting her on an emotional level. And she is livid. She waits for you to take the lead to get out of there.
I think Eloise is in a rare PDA moment, go her hand goes instinctually to comfort, and then she snaps it back because we're in public. And then she makes her way back to her, I guess, going to be former quarters.
Yeah, collect your things. They escort you out, of course. They watch you while you gather your things and make sure you didn't keep anything for yourself, and then they walk you out. They hand you a stack of paperwork to fill out, and out you go. You are now stranded on Arrakis.
I'm going to call my lovely niece directly.
Okay. Daphne.
Eloise, how can I help?
May we have words in private?
Is this over a communet or are you at the palace?
Communet. Yeah, I arrived. Yeah.
I'm at the palace if you care to meet me there.
How about the shrine to our family?
I'll be waiting.
Okay.
Head back to the palace. Daphne's there waiting. But also, where is this shrine that you're referring to at the palace?
Rachel?
So,
Is this
so Daphne
doublespeak?
Daphne probably has like a personal one in her quarters that's like a couple images of her mother and like a couple of their like personal effects, like their necklaces.
Yeah.
Real small picture of Alicia off in the corner, but it's there.
Facing the wall. Okay.
Yeah, but there's probably a dedicated place in a common area, but kind of set off to the side. Like maybe it's in part of the conservatory.
Let me put up the map here because we're gonna have a scene in a minute. There we go. Sorry. Oh. So you're probably up in the family bedrooms, where you keep the little shrine. Eloise and Amira come in, and Archibald. You're bright and early this morning, and so is Yeva. Quite a bit of commotion going on in the palace. And you start to get up and start to wander out onto the main floor from your quarters in the guest bedrooms. And let's see here. You're just coming in. There's Amira. And there's Archibald. And I forgot about Yeva, but that's okay. Alright, you're over here. As you're exiting out, you're in the main landing stairway, you and Yeva, as you're making your way down for breakfast. You pass Daphne in the stairway going back up to her quarters after she's received some sort of a call. And then you see someone you haven't seen in a very long time making their way past the foyer and the dining room and so on. You see Eloise Cheshire and this mysterious looking woman wrapped in colorful pieces of clothing. It's been a long time, Archibald. What do you do? What do you say?
Eloise, how is my lovely niece doing? Didn't know you were here.
So I think she's immediately frozen, and her arm just shoots out and grabs Amira's, and it's a death grip.
Amira doesn't understand what's going on, but she, squeezes your hand, and it's like, yes. And I'm sorry. Who are you? Says to you, Archibald.
Oh, excuse my formalities. My name is Archibald. I'm Archibald Cheshire.
All you see are Amira's eyes underneath her veils go whoop, and Yeva standing next to you, like mutter something under her breath, like, "Oh, rude."
Well, formerly Cheshire, we are now Librius now.
Welcome to Arrakis, I suppose, she says.
I agree.
And who are you, may I ask? More guests of the Cheshires? She's like, I am Amira. This is... And she looks to you for permission.
She like remembers herself now, and let's go. I'm Eloise Cheshire, former guildswoman.
Former. Oof.
She looks to Amira immediately and is like,
we should go now. Follow me. And it's like she immediately grabs your hand and starts like pushing herself past Archibald and Yeva, and Yeva kind of like is taken aback a little bit, and she kind of gives a look over to Archibald like, see, I told you so. Rude. And then she continues to go down the stairwell with you. Do you respond, Archibald?
No, it's gonna be more like that was odd.
You're making your way down towards breakfast. There's some guy with a cloak on and like a beard, big bushy beard, and he's like being fawned over by like these servants, and they're trying to explain a fork to him. He's just kind of like, but I have my hands. And they're like, sir, you should use the cutlery. I have 2 hands. I can do this myself. Please go away.
That's
And he
kind of
looks
like
over
when
at
I
you, sees you coming in, taking a seat for breakfast.
and that's when I'm like, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna sit. I wouldn't say right next to him, but like I'm just gonna sit and I'm gonna eat my breakfast. And I am going to eat just like he is.
With your hands. He knowingly, he kind of like munches on his food, and he kind of looks over to you, and he kind of like, all right, I see you. He kind of like gives you a nod, and he's eating with you. You both eat your hands, and you have just like, oh my god, I'm married to a caveman. She says, continues eating using her utensils. Norma, there's quite a bit of activity going on at the palace in Arakeen this morning. You've just finished meeting with Lady Margot, and you've received your orders, as it were, from Wallach Ix. You see the good general and his wife going down the stairwell from the guest quarters and making their way down into the dining room area. And you see Eloise Cheshire being led by her bodyguard, Amira, up to what appears to be Daphne's quarters. What are you doing?
I don't remember. Was I there when Archibald went dead to alive?
Probably not. Because
Okay.
Norma is Norma, so she's, who knows where she is at any one given time. You are probably speaking with the lady Margot Fenring, who told you in confidence that the Emperor had tasked the Count to have a sit-down one-on-one meeting with Mossum, just to ensure he was safe. And so the Count and his wife observed him for some time just to make sure that he wasn't harmed in any way, and got his version of events to relate back to the Emperor. You don't know what was said, but Margot did inform you that despite all of this, Mother Superior is asking for a report.
Okay, so I have not given her the report then.
No, not yet, I would say.
Okay, I'd be right.
Unless you wanted to choose that moment. If you had already written it out and you wanted to give it to her so that she can relay it to Wallach Ix, then sure.
That's what I figured it was going to be, because that way, if she just has it, it was
So it'll take a few
coincidental timing.
days, and then you'll probably get a reply.
Mhm.
What do you do in the meantime, as you see all this hustle bustle taking place inside the palace?
I've seen Archibald before, but I really haven't seen Eloise too much.
fucking knew it.
Oh yeah, of course. So I'm gonna tail you quietly and see what's what, because
But there's a handsome stranger in the breakfast nook, Norma.
I might get around to there soon enough. But first of all, I have to figure out who this new person is. Is it Cheshire?
If your eyes don't deceive you, that very well may appear to be the case. Wearing a guild uniform, no less. Very
Yeah.
striking. You
Also
tail them.
very useful.
Yeah, you tail them to Daphne's quarters. You see Amira opens the door for Eloise to enter, and she immediately turns down the hallway to scan. Unless you're like hiding behind the corner, she spots you and just kind of like
Oh no,
clocks you at that distance and it's like,
I'm
gives you
doing
the what the
that-
fuck are you doing? Look.
just slowly walking, and when I'm spotted, I'm just walking and just keep going like I wasn't doing anything at all.
She eyes you the whole time, like she knows you've been in Jesuit Witches, so she waits for you to pass by, and then she goes and shutters the door unless Eloise tells her to wait outside.
Eloise did say in private. But I think maybe things have changed since that lovely encounter. So she probably ushers her in.
Yeah. Okay. So they both go inside. Do you like listen at the door or something like that?
Oh,
Norma?
yeah, I'll listen for a second, see what I can hear, and if I don't really hear too well, I'll continue on to investigate the man in the
Okay. Discipline
room.
observation 2, unless the parties inside are doing something else to obscure their.
Nope.
Okay. You're gonna just let it all out. All right, I love it.
Focus in espionage.
Perfect. Yep.
All right.
Go ahead and roll. Daphne,
I'll make it.
you have guests.
I'm trying to listen to what they're saying.
My quarters seem suddenly popular for everybody. It's good to see you, Aunt Eloise.
She's very obviously like the best way Daphne has hyper awareness, right, for being at Bene
Yes,
Gesserit?
absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So I'll describe this as if you've ever seen someone who's been bottling their emotions and they've reached full tilt and now the tea kettle's whistling. That's Eloise right now.
Daphne never feels like that.
So she steps in and brings Amira in, and she's like, I'm sorry, niece. I was bringing, and she'll pull out. It's a family portrait, but it's like the three sisters. So Adelaide, Eloise. I forget older sister's name. Beatrice, and their father. I've just been let go by the guild, and so I thought I'd say my goodbyes and give you this for our family shrine. I'm sorry, Archibald's here.
This is beautiful. Thank you very much. I'm very sorry to hear about what happened to you and the guild. The house remains open to you if you would like to rejoin it. And yes, Archibald recently founded his own house. He's now the Earl?
Yes.
He's now the Earl of House Librius.
And he's here. Okay.
It wasn't him.
What role can I make to decide if Daphne is lying to me?
Well, that would be probably discipline observation, the spot if she's lying.
Okay. I don't have observation. Oof. Okay, truth, even though I desperately want to use justice. All right, I will make this roll, this lovely disciplined truth roll with no. I would like to spend 1 point of momentum. It is a little bit
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're currently full, so you're by spending 1, you actually are
Might as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Or sorry, 5.
Okay.
Hey, all right. So you got 2 successes. Daphne, if you're trying to hold anything back, that would be communication with a focus in deceit and truth, I would imagine.
All right, I will roll right now in case there is anything in the future that she tries to keep. But for now, Daphne believes that what she is saying is true. What was that roll?
Okay. It's communication, you have deceit as a focus, and it would probably be under truth as a drive, unless you have another reasoning to use something else.
Okay, truth is fine. I'm real good at truth. Okay. Would a body language focus apply?
Yeah, actually.
Okay. There we go.
2.
2 successes.
Matched. Okay.
So Daphne will say it wasn't him.
Who?
Archibald didn't kill our family.
That's not what I meant. Who did it?
Of Cardis.
Who? I want a name. I need a name.
Would I know those names?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Gregos and Milos of Cardis.
Gregos and
The
Milos
twins.
of Cardis. They more recently tried to bait me into murdering my own mentat. And I suspect they have quite a lot to do with how Adelaide died. And I think at least 1 or 2 of them might be active here and are probably responsible for trying to frame us for stealing the spice bride.
I see. I believe you.
This matches up with what you've already learned from Mira, that the guy who they found out in the desert, crushed underneath the sandworm that Zoshir had summoned, had that brooch on them with the house emblem belonging to House of Cardis. A defeated house.
Yeah. Forgive me for not trusting you all initially. It's been a long 12 years.
It has been a very
She's
long
going to turn to
12 years.
Amira and be like, oh, well, sorry. She's going to say, I have something for you. A kind of last will and testament of your mother's. She's going to turn to Amira and pull up her skirt. Eric, do you remember that thing that asset I asked for that's buried inside me? We're digging it out right now.
Wow. Okay.
Is this
So Amira pulls out a knife.
necessary?
Yes.
What would you describe it as? Like, she pulls it out of your body.
So it's probably like tucked right by the scapula, like not under it, but right next to it. So there's no it's a little tricky, but there's no awful you're gonna bleed out stuff right there.
Okay.
So yeah, she jams it in to get that lovely data crystal out.
She apologizes before she does. She drives the knife in. She grabs your hand and then she
So
takes it out.
Daphne does not want to watch this happen. And so what she does is she's gonna go...
Eloise did turn away from you to Amira to do it, just for the record.
Still gonna poke her head out and ask for a servant. Could I get some painkiller in here, please?
And meanwhile, as soon as you open the door, the Norma falls in. No, I'm just kidding. You use the communion net, and you're like, "Hey, can you get somebody over here, please? I need some painkillers." And yeah, and they send someone over. You hear people coming down the hallway, Norma, and they see, the Mapes and the other housekeepers, like, they bow respectfully when they see you. Ma'am, we need to provide some pain relief for the Duchess, if you please.
I will take it from them so that I might personally deliver it.
Oh, fuck my life.
You see Mapes and the other one stand back and nod, and then just turn around and leave. They know that you're part of the house entourage to some effect. They don't know what exactly, but they know you belong here. All right. There's a knock on the door. Daphne opens. Here's Norma. Proceed.
I heard you were in need of relief. It seems odd.
Not me, someone else. Come on in.
I step inside.
All right.
So there's a quick look from Amira to Daphne, and then in Cheshire Eye language, can the Reverend Mother be trusted?
Yes, I can.
I see.
She was Adelaide's consort for many, many years. And taught me much of the Bene Gesserit ways.
Forgive my paranoia, Reverend Mother. She'll turn back to Amira. I'm ready.
When it is revealed that Norma was a consort to Adeline, Amira softens visibly and looks to you differently than she did out in the hallway just a few moments ago. She says nothing, though. She lets you do the talking, Eloise.
Let's please proceed.
Is there anything Aegis Bene Gesserit can do to make that less painful or bloody?
Jeez, I'm not great with anatomy, so I don't know what you would be doing to help Aaron's character.
There's a lot of nerves near that area. That's why it's
Okay.
there. It's supposed to hurt. It's supposed to hurt.
Jesus.
Okay, then this is something I should be able to do then. Properly applied pressure to reduce the feeling from nerves as it's happening.
Okay. You apply your knowledge to try to alleviate any pain from Eloise. You stop, you, I don't know what you do. You massage it or whatever. You put a balm on it, whatever.
Reduce the amount of blood flow to the area so the
Sure.
nerves don't have as much potency.
Gotcha.
And
so you
also,
pinch some of
it prevents the blood from going out so much.
keep the blood flow from going in.
A little vasoconstriction.
Mm-hmm. You see, it's surprisingly effective, Eloise, and you feel a little bit more relieved as a result of that. How do the rest of you react? Or like you see, like there's this gathering here, and it's a little unusual. And she pulled out this thing. What does it contain inside? What does it look like when you put it in a reader or what have you?
I assume it's literally like a hollow from Adelaide herself.
Oh,
Like a very young Adelaide,
Mhm.
like just assumed house control Adelaide.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of lays out that the fight 12 years ago between Eloise and Adelaide was a staged one, designed so that Eloise could infiltrate the guild and manipulate them eventually, using her navigator potential, so that's not necessarily that we could have the imperial throne, but that we would have power enough that we would be safe for centuries.
Yeah, she says something to the effect of like, all I ever wanted to do was to protect my family, and sometimes in order to protect someone who is close and dear to you, you have to send them away. You can't keep them too close, otherwise you risk harming them.
I think the other caveat is that I was promised revenge on the murderer of at the time was Archibald.
Yeah. I made a promise that I need to keep. It's important that I do. It's like my Beatrice and my father's life were taken much too quickly, and there's no justice without. There's no justice, it feels, in what was done. So I made a promise. I made a promise to Eloise that she would get the justice if I failed to do so. That she would be able to be the one to succeed where perhaps I failed. And it's like, I don't think any of us will ever get over what happened, but I hope that with this decision going forward that we can achieve some semblance of justice for those that were wronged. That terrible, terrible day. And the message sort of ends.
I have always been loyal to my family and always loyal to our house. She'll like just slip her hand into Amira's now and just crush the shit out of it, despite the health.
I think she doesn't have a chance because Daphne is just gonna give her like this really tight hug.
I think it's the ugly sobs of someone who's had to hide their emotions for 12 years, whatever that looks like.
Yep. Yep. Very good. Okay. I'm gonna switch scenes here very quickly to a siege along the shield wall. Um, mm, mm, mm. Okay. You're introduced to this outframe, Zoshir, named Ducan, Idaho. He's a good friend of these Fremen. He's fought alongside them, it seems, and he's done a lot of good for them in the short amount of time that he's known them. They bring you food, like it was some sort of a celebration. Meat, desert hare, and chuka, which is a type of fowl, hairless fowl. These are the typical sort of common ones that you see. There's also like a savory stew made out of that and like some roots that we're able to put together. It's quite good. You've had it before, and it's served on a flatbread. That is parts plate and also part of the meal. So once you finish the stew, you eat the bread. You break bread, so to speak, with Idaho and the troop that he's traveled with this far. He tells you of his time with Stilgar, the Naib of this tribe, and how he's here on behalf of House Atreides as part of an advanced team to pave the way for the Regis Familia as they transition from Caladan to here as the new rulers of Arrakis after the Harkonnens have gone. This is still several months away, however. In the time that Idaho has spent here among the Fremen, he's done some work for them. He specifically scouted out a location along the top northern parts of the, just north of the Imperial Basin, along the shield wall. It's an observation, an old botanical observation station. This is known to the Fremen as a testing station that was originally established by Pardot kinds. The visionary of the Fremen, the one who promised the Green to return to Arrakis, he said. The Dream, as it is called, or as it is known among several Fremen. That observation station, like many of it, like hundreds all over the Arrakis, have been long abandoned. But there was something about this particular place, this very high point, sitting at the top of a very tall spire, that had been a buzz of activity recently, Harkonnen activity. So he took it upon himself to take a troop with him, small, dedicated group, and they scaled the observation mountain, which is something like, and to hear him say it, it's something like 8,000 meters tall. That's roughly about 5 miles in length. They scaled it in a day's time, and they scouted out the Harkonnen movements in and around the facility. And they discovered something very interesting about this particular place. The botanical testing station had equipment there, mainly having to do with plant growth and such, but also spice mining equipment that belonged to the previous house, House Richez. There was also something else, though. Unrefined spice. Loads of it, in fact. The Harkonnens, it would seem, have been stockpiling spice, skimming off of their operations on Arrakis, right here on DUNE, and right underneath the nose of the Emperor himself, stockpiling it inside one of these seemingly abandoned botanical testing stations. Even a Fremen knows this is highly illegal within the Imperium, and potentially damaging to House Harkonnen. But Idaho put forward that something like this cannot be ignored. Now, with more activity than ever before, with the Harkonnens seeking to leave Arrakis soon, the window of time is closing quickly to act. Otherwise, there's a good chance they're going to get away with that unrefined spice that they've been stockpiling for untold amount of years, decades perhaps. He stands up from the meal. He's like, there's probably tens of millions of Solaris in that place. So I talked to Stilgar. I said we should raid it. What is it you call it? And Purdy's like, a razzia. He's like, that's the one. A razzia. An assault. We take what's there, we kill the Harkonnens, and drive them out. But something else came up. The son of one of the local naibs got captured by the Harkonnens and kept in the bowels of the Harkonnen citadel in Carthag. Stilgar took a troop of his men to rescue the son of the naib, knowing full well that if the Harkonnens had gotten too much information from him, he would have to do the unthinkable and take his life. The naib sent Stilgar and his people fully knowing that he would have to take that action if necessary. And that's the last time I saw Stilgar. This message that you brought, the message that Stilgar sent out to us here, it's important. But he says he's still recuperating from his torture at the hands of the Harkonnens. That to me tells me that his troop is gone. But this razzia, he said, it's to commence with or without him. And we're going to need strong fighters to go on this mission. To expose the Harkonnens and their corruption. And he kind of explains it for people who don't really get Imperial politics as much as perhaps the Duke and his family. And he explains it in the easiest way possible. It's like, if the Harkonnens, if this spice horde of the Harkonnens is exposed to the Emperor, to the Imperium, this can get him in a lot of trouble. Especially if we do the exposing. And in the process, we get to rid ourselves of many Harkonnens, and we liberate one of the botanical testing stations that belong to Pardot kinds. He's like, I'm down Stilgar and an entire troop of Fremen on this mission. I'm looking for a few more, he says. And he looks to you and the other two that are with you. Do you accept and take Stilgar's place along at my side?
Need to reach out to someone else first. Make sure that I am not needed for previously agreed to engagement. And otherwise, I'm in and I have some ideas.
You see some rando. It's just like, who is this man? He came out of nowhere, and we're trusting him to take Still's place? He's not a naib. And then this woman speaks up. She's young, dark skin, wavy hair. She speaks up and she's like, I got this. You're Zoshir Tabr, aren't you?
I'm sorry, do I know you? But yes.
You probably don't know me, but I've heard of you. We all have, she says. And she looks around the main room that you're all partaking in this meal. She's like, my name is Chani. She's like, we've heard of you, Zoshir. You led the charge to recover the Spice Bride for the Guild. You faced down a challenge and protected your honor at Sietch Tabr, and you defeated Mafo in single combat. Yes, Zoshir, we know of your name, and you're more than suitable to take our naib's place alongside a warrior such as him. Take whatever time you need, but know that the window that, as he said, the window to act is closing fast. We have days or a week at best before the Harkonnens fully vacate those premises, and before they're gone, and we won't be able to reach them again. They have to pay one way or the other, with spice or with blood. Your response?
Hopefully we make them pay with both.
Indeed we shall. You see, Duncan says, puffs out his chest. He grasps your arm and it's like, let's fight like demons. And on that note, we're going to go to break. Shall return in 10 minutes time. Currently it is 12:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back in 10 minutes. welcome back. We've returned from our break where we last left off. Zoshir was spending some time with Ducan, Idaho, and the other Fremen in Sietch Tabr as they were discussing their potential plans to raid an abandoned botanical testing station, which has been procured by the Harkonnens recently, and they are in a hurry to try to get out as soon as possible before the Atreides arrive. Idaho and the rest of the Fremen were planning, along with Stilgar, were originally planning on performing this razzia at night, but the journey and the mission itself is fraught with danger, mainly because this observation station where the Harkonnens have supposedly been keeping unrefined spice from the Emperor and shown for many years, relatively unchecked, is at the top of a 8,000 meter tall piece of rock, which is itself on top of something called the Broken Lands, which is itself about 4,600 feet, or 4,600 meters off the sands of Arrakis. So as Ducan describes to all of you as part of the planning for this mission, he tells you that it's going to take several days, unless you make really good time if you go by foot. The other alternative, of course, is to use an ornithopter to get to where you need to go. However, even if you use the ornithopter to skip the initial climb, which he estimates took about 15 hours or so, give or take, for him and his troop originally to scale to get to the top of the basin, and then another 20 hours or so for them to go up the steep mountain to get to the observation center, the station. Even if you do all of that, the Harkonnens probably have a good chance of spotting any ornithopter traffic to and from that area. So it's like one thing to keep in mind is that if we do take an ornithopter trip down there as part of this mission, we're going to have to work very well to try to hide any sort of movement, because they're so high up they have a perfect view of the entire basin. All the different towns and villages, the Pions as they're called, along that lead a trail right to Carthag and Arakin, which are just on the other side of the mountainous region where this observation tower takes place. He lays it out a little bit better when you look at the map, which I'll load here in a second. He shows you a hollow of Arrakis, of the globe of Arrakis. He kind of like, turns it and shows you exactly what he's talking about. You've heard of this place before. It's a landmark. That's right there. And this is it right here. This little observation mountain thing. That's the point right there. He's like, if we can manage to go there at night, however we can get there, we can probably take them by surprise. The Harkonnens are just like anybody else in the Imperium. They rise at the dawn and they go to sleep at dusk. The Fremen, from what I've seen, are the complete opposite. You guys are up the moment the sun goes down. So we can probably use that to our advantage, catch them by surprise just before dawn when they're tired, take them out, take the spice, get the information to whoever it is that we need to, use it to our advantage. It's like, I understand you have to report this to your own siege, I would imagine, and your own peoples this year. You're welcome to do that whenever you can, but just keep in mind we're on a ticking time clock right now. If we're going to put together this razzia and carry it through, we're going to need all hands on deck.
All right.
Heard he's like, are we really going to do this? Like, 8,000 meters? You know how tall that mountain is? I can get up there. You're gonna have to like strap me to your back.
Well, I can do that, or you can stay in the cushy palace where they have all the water wasting.
It was a joke. And you see Nalia is just like, oh jeez. Okay. It's like scaling something of that magnitude is, I don't know if we can do it. He said over 20 hours just to scale that thing. We would have to camp out partially. Especially if things went badly, it might take longer than that. I'm talking about almost an entire day's worth of work of climbing, and that's if we work from start to end.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be an easy mission, but it's a necessary one.
Is it though?
Well, do you
Here,
have an
George.
alternative?
I don't. He's like, I'll leave it to you, Nalia says. And she's
Well-
like, he's like, and by the way, that guy is like, what a hunk, huh? That's some, I mean, can you imagine that guy climbing that? Wow.
Climbing
I
what
can't.
exactly?
The big mountain he was just talking about. Aren't you, were you not listening to the thing?
I was. I
Oh,
swear.
he was distracted by the eyes on that tall. Hey, I felt it too. She says, "Was his name Idaho?" Yeah, he's tall, dark, and handsome.
Not bad for an outframe.
You see, Nalia's like, no, I think perhaps he had eyes for Chani. Smiles.
Oh, you're both so close-minded.
Do you have a Fremen culture, or I don't think you may or may not, as part of your understand?
I do not. I wish.
Okay. That's okay. So you have this potential mission that you can go on as part of your pact, I guess you can say, with these different outframe. First House Cheshire, now House Atreides. What do you do or say for the rest of the evening now that you've been accepted into Sietch Tabr and given food and given a place to rest for the evening? Is there anything that you want to do before you get some rest and wake up the next morning?
Absolutely. Zoshir would like to learn about both of those people. Chani, how she knows about Zoshir, why she spoke up for him, and then also Duncan, Idaho. Like, where does he come from? Why? Where does this outframe come from exactly? Ambrose knows. Zoshir does not.
Okay. You find Chani in one of the lower hallways of the Sietch, and she's like, "You have questions, Zoshir?"
Why did you speak up for me?
It seemed the right thing to do.
Perhaps, but there had to have been something that struck you aside from the rightness of the situation.
Stilgar recently attended a council of naibs and gathered together to discuss what's happening to the tribes. Currently, we are not united against the Harkonnens. We have our battles, and sometimes we lose, and sometimes we win. But there's been too much trouble coming from the Harkonnens as of late, and not everyone is behind House Atreides and their inheritance of the fief on Arrakis. And so we, Stilgar, vouching for Duke Leto, attended this meeting, and I went with him. There were others present, and she says the name Liet, and immediately perks up your attention. Liet is a revered figure within the Fremen community. You know, this is the child of Pardot kinds. Not many outframe know this, though. This is a big thing that a lot of Fremen is an unkept secret. Yeah, spoken truth. And Liet commands the Fremen almost, or more. You would say more than any Naib would, because she was the one who inherited the dream from her father. And to hear Chani tell it, she and Stilgar have strong ties, and as a result, they felt obligated to attend this meeting that he called for. With the meeting of all these naives from all these different tribes, he tried to convince them that this would be the right time to push against the Harkonnens before they leave, because now is when they would be making the most amount of mistakes. But a lot of the naives were not behind this plan. He couldn't convince all of them to put their faith in this outframe House Atreides, despite the fact that they sent one of their best, one of their brightest with Ducan, Idaho, to show them that they are willing to shed their own blood in defense of the Fremen people, and to create bonds of trust between both houses, so to speak. But the naives weren't hearing anything about it, so they sort of dismissed it out of hand. They took a vote, and obviously Stilgar lost. So this attempt to try to raid the Harkonnens and all these different things that Sietch Tabr has been pursuing along with Ducan, Idaho, is to try to drum up some kind of support, some sort of political capital, if you will, for Stilgar and the Sietch, so that he can actually, when he returns and calls for another meeting of the naives, that he can get them to agree, and we can finally unite all of the tribes under a common cause, and potentially to have House Atreides be like the one exception to all of these other noble houses of the Landsraad that in the past have never even bothered to pay attention to them. With House Atreides, it seems different this time. You starting to feel something similar, perhaps, for House Cheshire, but this is what Chani tells you, and she's like, we need people like Liet and my father to lead the Fremen, but we need others to show the way as well. We need new blood. And he's like, the ways are changing, and whether we like it or not, we have to adapt to those changes. Otherwise, we're dead. We're survivors. All of us are. I know you know this more than anyone, I suppose. So when I heard that you did what you sacrificed you risked your life and those of your own people from your siege to save us from Harkonnen aggression. You retrieved the Spice Bride, and you defended your honor in the way that you did. How could I not defend you? Besides, don't listen to Jameis. He's very hot-tempered.
Out of character, Rachel's face. I wonder who this person is.
I'll tell you.
The guy Paul kills in the movie, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Oh, damn. Oops. I thank you. I owe you, at least, if not in word, in water.
You owe me nothing, she says, and she makes the symbol that your way is clear. This thing between you has been cleansed. You owe her nothing, and she owes you nothing. How long will you be staying with us here?
Not long. As the Outframe had said, we're on a time limit. So, likely to leave as soon as possible. But,
A pity. But perhaps when you return, I will see you out there on the field of battle. And I'll fight alongside you in Idaho and the others.
I would be honored.
Where are you returning to your siege?
I will likely send one of my tribe members back to the siege, and I must go back to House Cheshire.
They're the ones who are keeping Stilgar, yes?
Yes.
When you arrive at the palace, please tell him that his daughter misses him. She turns and leaves. Okay. So I hope she provided you with enough answers to your questions?
Absolutely.
Okay. The next morning arrives, and or actually, after that little interaction, or towards the end, you hear like these whispered calls behind you, like around the corner. And the corner's like, "Shut up! No, you're being loud. No, you're being loud. Shut up!" And like you kind of look over your shoulder and you see Nayla and like Hurdy like scurry behind the facade. It's just like, oh, shit. The next morning arrives, and you're treated to a traditional sort of breakfast with the Fremen here. So you get like you get this thing that's kind of like it's like a milk that they made that's made into like butter and cheese. They call it kvetch. And it has along with it they provide you with these platters that have like dates and figs. It's basically fruits of different kinds that have been like conserved or pickled or dried in some way. They serve you the things that they grow out on the south side of the planet along the Palmaries. You get a Portugal and some other stuff in there as well as part of that. Idaho is just like I heard you're a good fighter. It's like I'd like to have you part of my troop. It's like when you get an answer back from your people, we'll be here waiting. Send a I lost the name. Send a message however you can, and we'll get back and we'll continue our conversation. And no offense from earlier, he says, and he kind of like pulls up his two blades, like this is the guy who pinned you to the wall. It's like, no offense, by the way.
None taken. I would have done the same.
All right.
If you could keep an eye on Chani for me.
No, Johnny. Sure. I have an obligation. Stilgar's daughter. Absolutely. Guard her with my life.
I feel like I'm missing something that Rachel and Aaron are giggling
everything's
at.
Fine. Just keep going. You got more questions?
I'm giggling from something your lovely husband sent me.
Oh, the secret messages, yes.
Just keeping me on my toes. Anyway. Zoshir will at this point take Nalia and I almost called her Gertie. Damn it, Lupine. It will take Hurdy aside. I need one of you, or both of you, to go back to our siege and let them know everything that has happened.
Everything? Like the whole thing? That's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff, but I have every bit of faith in you. Pat, pat, pat.
We need her. You can't send her away. We need her. We need her.
Somebody needs to stab the Harkonnens in their ankles. Come on. And she's like, okay. What about Nayla? She's gonna be sticking around with you, or is she gonna come with me to the siege?
I would not want you alone out in the desert.
Okay.
Not because I don't think you can handle it, but because if Arrakis lost you, everyone would mourn.
No, she says. Thank you, Zoshir. You're so kind. Nayla's like, all right, come on. Stop being happy. Let's get in the ornithopter. Let's go.
Stop being happy. Let's get in the ornithopter.
Nayla's just like that. Okay. So you board the ornithopter. Duncan and Chani stand at the foot of at the entrance of the siege, and they sort of wave you off as you take off into the air. You return back to the palace in the morning, just in time to see some faces you've never seen before, as Archibald and Yeva are finishing their breakfast with Stilgar in the dining room area. You recognize Stilgar anywhere. He currently has servants fawning over him and asking him questions like, "Sir, can you please?" And he's like, "Just get away, move."
So
I
I'm
cannot-
actually
I-
going
by the time
to.
it here is finished.
Sorry, I'm actually gonna kind of shoo everyone off and away from Stilgar, out of respect and so on and so forth.
And around this time, of course, Security Commander Hajan comes to you, Pardot, and it's like, we have many guests in the palace right now. Security is currently tearing their hair out. What would you like us to do?
The bald Pardot Reed looks at his commander and just does a blink. Just continue as you have been. There's
Figuratively speaking, of course, Marshal. But I believe General Archibald and his wife are in the dining room with a Fremen leader of some sort, and there are more Fremen coming in just now. They may require your presence. Your Tiberiuses have arrived,
Alright.
sir.
Ah, I see.
I'm just getting secret messages all over the place. Yeah, so you Hajan brings you downstairs. In the meantime, you're left alone with Stilgar in the dining room for some time as the Fremen are coming in from outside. Archibald, is there anything that you wanted to say or do while he's here, along with Yeva present?
Well, someone tell me you seem to be quite the guest, considering you're eating at the table. Who do I owe this pleasure to?
He kind of chews his food for a moment, and finishes, and he's like, Stilgar. And kind of leans over and spits right, like within a hair's breadth of your plate. You see Yeva's like, oh god, we crash landed on a planet full of barbarians.
Sorry about that, Stilgar. Don't mind her. She's not used to this.
Roll
I've
me an
been in,
understand roll. You're a pretty smart cookie.
Who, me?
Yeah, give me an understand roll, difficulty 2.
Yep. Okay.
To not automatically be like, the fuck?
Is that understand, right?
Yeah.
All right. Which drive? Say truth?
I would.
Truth or.
That's a good question. I'll just defer to duty. Just make it simple.
Duty? Can it be truth? Because
You can make it truth, sure.
Okay,
whatever.
we're gonna make it truth. 'Cause I have a 7 in truth. I have a 5 in duty.
Sure.
All right. So understand roll. Deductive reasoning I can use this for, right?
Yes.
All right. Truth. How many dice? We'll do 2. Yes. Focus. 2 successes.
Perfect. You almost like are taken aback for a moment, and then you think about like how obsessed the local Fremen are about water and moisture in general, and you're like, oh, I get it. I understand what he's doing, especially when he goes back to what he was doing like nothing had ever happened, and you follow suit and you just kind of spit on the table, and Yeva's like, oh my god. Like, she doesn't get it. She's not trying to get it. She's just like, I'm in hell. I'm in hell.
I'm gonna
See with
say
your questions.
I'm gonna say long time ago I spent time with a lot of the, I guess, native tribes. Tribes. You seem very, very similar. May I ask where you hail from?
Shield wall, he says.
Shield wall. Out of character, would I deduct that to be Fremen?
When he says the shield wall, you're kind of like, it's geographic location. Okay, he's assuming a lot. Like, he assumes that you live here now or whatever. Like, you know the area, and you're just like, I don't know. You haven't even seen a map from Arrakis probably in some time, so you have no idea what he's talking about.
I'm gonna say, well, shield wall. Huh.
You can.
I'm not from around here, as you can obviously tell. Mind
Wow.
enlighten me?
You can see the shield wall from. You can see the shield wall from space. He's like, he points to the window, and it's like you see the big long ridge that surrounds the basin that surrounds Arakeen and everything else around it. And it's like, yeah, it's this massive wall of rock that protects the basin from the sandstorms, the worms, and so on.
Gotcha. So I'm gonna kind of like, because right now I'm just trying to build a rapport with him currently.
Sure.
So I'm gonna ask him in terms of like, is there a specific location you are at the shield wall? Or maybe
We don't. He's like, holds up his hands like, we don't give that sort of information to complete strangers. I
Oh.
gave you my name, now I need yours.
Obviously, I should probably excuse my
You see Yeva's just doing this number, and she's like, can we please get a mentat over here? I have no idea what's going on. You see one of the servants like, yes, right away, sir. Right away, man. Yes. He leaves the room, goes, finds Pardot. Pardot, they need you in here. Quickly, quickly.
As I've predicted, yes.
The mentat walks in and catches the last bit of conversation of like, what's a shield wall? And it's like, it's out there. And he's like, your name, sir. You introduce yourself.
I'll tell him, yeah, I'll tell him.
Jump in here anytime you want, Pardot.
I tell him my name is Archibald. I'm actually part of Daphne's family. You've obviously been here, and you've obviously met her.
Mm-hmm.
So, just thought I'd come and, I guess, introduce myself. I don't know who you are, so...
Your family, I am Stilgar, like I said. I am a naib to my people here on Arrakis.
Naib. I'm still very new when it comes to Arrakis, just in general. I myself just got here not even a day ago.
It's funny, I was just leaving.
Leaving? Okay, well.
I must return to my tribe. He's like, he struggles actually to get up and move around. Like he's kind of slouching in his chair a little bit, but he's like struggling to get up a little bit. And Yeva is just completely oblivious to what's going on. You see this, of course, Pardot. Zoshir, you and the other Fremen. Well, as the other Fremen are continuing to leave on the ornithopter, they drop you off at the palace. So you walk in as this exchange is taking place. You see Stilgar struggling to stand at the dinner table, but he's surrounded by outframe.
I'm actually gonna offer to help if I could. Sorry.
Sure.
I will greet him in the way that Fremen greet their naibs.
Mm-hmm. You see,
so
he recognizes you and nods. Your name?
Zoshir Tabr.
Ah, I've heard of you, Zoshir.
And I have you.
He says a greeting to you, a very formal greeting, and it almost doubles as like a thank you for thank you for your service, something to that effect. Like, thank you for what you did is effectively what he communicates to you. And he's like, I remember and he gives the name of a sietch, which was your sietch before it was taken by the Idwalis. Like, I remember them very well. We had close ties, our people and them. I was just a boy when this all occurred. When the Idwali came for your tribe.
Not many remember that, actually.
I'll never forget the Idwali and their crimes. And he's like, well, it was good meeting you, but I have to go back to Sietch Tabr.
And return to Chani.
He kind of perks up when he says, like, yes, you've met my daughter?
And I brought the crystal with your message.
You are the one. They chose well. Well then, must be off. Thank you for your assistance, he says, and he looks over to you, Archibald. Thank you for your help. It was a pleasure. He says, and turns and leaves. One of the housekeepers like, allow me, sir. And like they go and like try to aid him. He's like, I'm fine. And stumble a little bit. And he's asking to be led to an ornithopter so he can be flown or fly back to Sietch Tabr. You just got here though. And Norma, you're upstairs. You hear a great commotion taking place downstairs. Eloise, you just had a very intense cry on the shoulder of somebody you care about deeply. And you shared something very personal to you with Lady Daphne. After this scene wraps up, Amira starts heading towards the door to try to let everybody out and start to sort of leave the family quarters. Is anyone staying behind, or is everyone going to go downstairs for whatever it is you usually do around here?
I'm not going to stay behind, but I will say, like, as I'm kind of, there's two kinds of limps, right? There's the I'm in pain limp and the I'm not in pain limp. I'm doing the second.
Okay.
But the thing I want to say is, I've had visions I have to share with our house immediately.
Oh, call a meeting, and I just want to say, I appreciate your sacrifice. Those words aren't enough, but I need to say them. Thank you for everything you've done.
I love our family, and I loved your mother. You don't need to thank me.
When Norma hears you say visions, she perks up, and in her mind, she almost has the visible reaction of, oh gods, there's more.
There's more of them. Yes.
I knew I picked the right house.
I will use the Communinet to tell Pardot to arrange a family meeting as soon as possible. Perfect. Also, Stilgar is getting a pilot. He is in no condition to fly himself. These are Cheshire custom ornithopters. They're very tricky. We're just going to give him a Cheshire trained pilot.
Sure, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, just don't push that red button, just in case. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and don't attack Cheshires, because sometimes the ornithopters just do that.
As you're descending the grand staircase, you hear an elderly woman with a black veil on, badgering and hobbling after a pair of kids that are running. Both are easily 10 or 12 years old, and you hear Thea. It's like, now hold on a minute. I've not finished my lecture on the Orange Catholic Bible. You need to sit down and listen to what I have to say. Mason?
Mother Thea.
Yolanda.
Mother Thea.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think you could use a break. And
yes, dear.
I think the children should be at a family gathering that's happening very soon.
Oh, how lovely. Yes, of course. Massam, Belanda, come. You have something other to attend to than Orange Catholic Bible practice. Come now, or I will hit you with this book. I will do it. The kids are just like, oh, thank God, we don't have to do this again. All right, and they start filing one.
We're going to have a discussion about your methods of discipline later, but for now, there's a family meeting.
It's just empty threats, she says, and she kind of passes by and goes to the other side of the palace. So now everyone is gathered here, just in time for this timely house meeting. Who should not be present on the orders of the Duchess?
Norma's here, Eloise is here, Archibald is here, Pardot is here, Mawsum is here, Belanda, that is up to Norma. Daphne does not know that Zoshir is here, but if he wants to attend as Tiberius, that's acceptable.
Or mask off, whatever he wants to do.
I mean, let me know when I see Zoshir with the mask off, because Daphne will have a reaction to that.
Until further notice, I'm assuming that Ambrose is going in a still suit and the Ixian mask to conceal his identity. On the Jubba cloak.
I won't invite Yeva, but if Archibald wants to bring her, I won't block her.
She just kind of takes off her gloves leisurely and just kind of looks around the room at everybody, sizing everybody up.
Such a bitch.
I'll stay.
I think... Yeah, that's everybody. Actually, you know what? I take it back. I'm gonna ask Thea to come up with something to distract Yeva.
Oh God. To pull her out of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yes, dearie, of course. I'll have something that I can discuss with her. The Orange Catholic Bible is full of war stories, and there's so many themes. I'll, of course, have a very long discussion about that with her.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
of course. Right this way, Missy. Let me show you what we have in this wing of the palace. And she's like, she kind of gives you the "fuck you" look on the way out of the door.
Oh, I'm
Daphne.
not
She's
here.
like,
I'm just like, hey,
oh.
can you just go do the thing? All right, because I'm going this way now.
She's just like, oh, where's that fucking Duchess? She walks out with Thea. So now the meeting is sans Yeva. Who would like to set the agenda?
I believe this would be Mr. Reed's purview.
Oh, the Marshal.
Well, we've all been away from each other for some time. I hope you won't mind me taking the floor, Mr. Reed.
As you will.
You've done a tremendous job looking after the place as I've been to and fro. I appreciate it, thank you. I think the first thing is Eloise and Archibald. I believe you have words to say to each other.
It's hard. So this is Erin saying that it's hard to shellac 12 years of pain. So her lips are still thin, and it's still this like shit eating, like just fuck you. Look, I've learned, Uncle, that you're not responsible for the death of my father and my sister. I spent 12 years picturing like a rope around your neck while the rest of our family cheered me on as you died. It's going to be hard to let that go, but I was wrong, and I'm sorry.
I accept that apology. I'm sorry I made you feel that way.
You didn't.
I know you didn't. I know.
Cardis did. And I promise you, as we're family now, I'm going to make them suffer.
Any more than I did. I don't know if you heard, but we basically wiped them off of Jabberwock. So there's a big reason why things are the way they are right now. I don't know.
She's gonna pull out the pendant she got from the one that's still a spice bribe and is threw on the table. They might have been wiped out in paper. They're still here. They stole the guild's spice bribe.
I believe
They're still working their machinations.
I believe that's the next point of business to discuss.
Forgive me, I forgot one thing. I'm going to deploy my Ixian dampener right now.
Yeah. Also, Dr.
Seems wise.
Dr. Sloan can be here. I forgot about Dr. Sloan.
Yeah.
Dr. Sloan, yes, he recently had to exhume like half a dozen bodies, but he comes up from the bowels of the palace, and he's like, "Well, that was terrible. All right, Your Grace, of course." And he kind of stands in the corner and listens, stands there adroitly, and just sort of listens to what's going on with, attention.
Yeah, Ixian dampener deployed. Now only we can hear ourselves.
But it seems as though there was a survivor or two from House of Cardis. They attempted to frame us for theft of the spice bribe. They are probably still trying something to hurt our house. Here's all the information I have, and I would caution all of you, if anyone is trying to make you think that you cannot trust the people in this room, that is the person you cannot trust. Because this is their tactic, to try and turn us against each other. We have resisted more or less successfully, and I believe that we have the strength to continue to resist.
Mossum speaks up. Who from House of Cardis is doing this? I thought House Carol wiped them off the face of Jabberwock when they attacked us.
The house itself, the infrastructure, the people, the buildings, the citizenry, they're all gone. But the same way that Lysander was grievously wounded by the last survivor of House Maritani, it's possible that there are... I remember twins. I met twins, so we might as well assume there are two of them.
Well, it sounds like one of them was killed if we have a badge here. Or someone from House of Cardis was killed.
Mossum... Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, Eloise turns to Amir and asks her to describe the person that she pulled it off of.
You said ask Zoshir to describe the...
No, Eloise, or not,
Oh.
sorry, Amira. Asked Amira
Okay.
because she's the one who pulled off the little house symbol.
Yeah, she's like tall man, dark hair, tawny, thick mustache.
I probably remember the
Brawny.
mustaches, right?
Oh, I do. Yeah, that was one of them. This seems to be one of the twins then. So we got one down, one to go.
He's mine.
Well,
By all means, you can take him.
we'll have to find him first.
Thank you, Uncle. I might not be a former member of the guild anymore, but I still have friends.
By all means. May our futures cherish in this revelation.
It's interesting you say that, Uncle. I have visions to share with you all.
Mossum looks at you when you say that. What do you mean?
I see the reason I was courted by the guild in the first place. This is before your time, Mossum. I wish we had some time together in the younger years, but life in a house is complicated. Anyways,
I'm not a child.
Forgive me, I misspoke. You're young to me, but you are not that young.
So then
I've always been blessed with prescience. My father was kind enough to play both the Bene Gesserit and the guild against each other to prevent me from being recruited by either, to keep me close and with the family. But yes, I see the future. And since coming to Arrakis, it's become more intense.
Please.
So then it runs in both of our families, he says, and he looks at Daphne when he says that.
Eloise cocks her head because, like, she's assumed that, like, he is family, at least her family. You are not my relative?
Mossum is my half-brother. We share Kyra as a parent.
I see.
I
Well, we
say
might-
half-brother, that's a manner of blood. I think of him as a full brother.
We might not share blood, Massam, but I consider you family as well.
He smiles.
So
I've had visions too, he says.
I wonder how many we share. I hope not too many. My visions are dark.
So are mine.
Daphne sort of gestures like these sharing visions.
All right, so Eloise will go through a massive battle ensues in Arakeen between Atreides, Harkonnen, and Cheshire. She pauses and just decides to go through that. She'll gesture to Amira. Amira is brought before a magistration who decides her fate for assassinating an important noble. I'm not there. Our family is gathered for a massive funeral. It might be Jabberwock it could be Ishia. An Imperial blockade of Arrakis takes place with guild highliners and several others keeping anything from going in or out. The guild highliner crashes into a planet after falling in space and kills all life. A large gathering of people inside a throne room might be the Imperial throne, with someone who's not Shaddam the Fourth on the throne. And there's so many people there. The guild, some who are on flux, but this is a coronation for a new emperor or empress or the emperor. And then a wasteland planet where thousands of people are stranded. All of their clothes and uniforms are torn. They look like they're starving and dehydrated, and there's guild containers being dropped to them. Eric, out of game, can I realize that's the place we put the discarded houses?
Yeah, that's
Cool.
2-pile. Yep.
Yeah, I had a vision of 2-pile.
Mossam doesn't respond because he can't. He is visibly shaken as you go down the litany of visions that you've experienced. Like he's seen it too, and he just sort of stares into his hands that are on the table, and it's just like he's stunned. You see this as well as Zoshir.
Mossam, there's one more, and she's gonna lock eyes with him. A great fire, and what looks like a giant worm's mouth opening as it burns to the core of the planet. Have you seen the stone burner, Mossam?
Max, yes. I've seen it.
So Sheer's gonna make a sign of like warding off evil at the mention of something happening to the same
Shai
worm.
Halud? Destruction of a worm was an old one, yeah.
Yeah.
She'll turn to Daphne and be like, "These are not possibilities anymore. I'm worried they're certainties."
Daphne has a look of horror on her face at the last vision, and she says, "That's what he meant." The gathering of the houses by the Harkonnen, they are conducting a hunt for one of the sandworms. It's apparently an albino giant. They call it the White Death. Commander Salgalot has already lost a leg to it. And... Sorry, I just made a connection. Fuck you, Eric. Should have named him Ishmael. Alright. There's Salgalot is angry and vengeful over the loss of his leg, the loss of his dignity, and he's commanded all of the noble houses in service to the Harkonnen to work together to destroy this worm. His plan, he has not revealed the details, only that he intends to blow it to smithereens. Was it a white worm you saw in your visions?
He just nods as like a tear streams down his face. He's realizing that every terrible thing that he's seen comes true eventually, one way or the other. The curse of prescience. This is hitting you particularly in an interesting way, Zoshir, because they're talking about the Harkonnens are planning to destroy not just any sandworm, but the legendary White Death, the old man of the desert.
I have...
Oh, sorry.
So Daphne will look to Mossam and say, "Now that we know what could happen, we can thwart it. The worm is alive today, and we can ensure that happens. We have briefly entertained the leader amongst the Fremen. His name is Stilgar. I believe he's left by now, but I made sure he knew everything that I know. And hopefully that means the majority of the Fremen will also soon know. I'll also make sure Kyra knows."
I think Eloise will chug her beverage.
At the mention of Kyra, Mossum's like, I want to see my mother soon. I need to speak with her.
If there's
I think
one thing
we-
I
I'm sorry.
no, sorry, I'd say there's one thing I need to add. The Baron is aware of the reason I was dismissed is Baron Harkonnen figured out my ruse. They are in motion, despite them being dismissed from this planet.
They will be desperate, and that is perhaps how and why Salkalat chooses to use a stone burner, and that is why we must dedicate every resource our house has to avoiding that future. And that to Masum. I think we need to have a lot of conversations with Kyra. I'll see what I can arrange.
Thank you. Any other business?
Out of character. Did we already get told that they're hoarding spice?
I don't think that was mentioned because the only one who knows that is Zoshir.
Okay.
So Zoshir's totally bugging out under his mask. He's gonna remove the hood and take off the mask.
Ah, Zoshir, welcome.
So Daphne just goes stiff, looking at Zoshir, looking at everyone else.
I'm gonna kind of
Am I
like give you a
being a-
glare, Daphne.
No, how
because
did
I
he
don't
get
know
in
this
here?
person.
How did he get in here again?
I'm sorry.
I certainly hope you're not trying to abduct me again, because it will not work.
Niece,
Norman
niece,
just looks
this
at
is an ally.
Pardot.
This is an ally. This is an ally. I promise you, this is an ally.
Archibald's like abduction.
He kind of gets a little grin on his face. No, my lady, too many witnesses.
How did he get past Pardot? How did he get past security?
Because he is security.
My
You
apologies.
know who he is, I assume.
Yes.
This is the man who held a Mala pistol to my head, while his friends held another Mala pistol to Masum's head.
Duchess, I believe we've gone past that and have resolved that issue.
Just the fact that it happened is irresponsible, in my opinion.
The
We do
only
have a mutual
reason.
enemy in the Harkonnens. I'd like to bring that to bear.
The only
We are
reason
allies.
that you are not being murdered where you stand is because your actions ended up being very beneficial to me personally.
My sincerest apologies, my lady. I owe you a debt of water. And he will offer his spit.
Perfect. Give yourself a point of advancement.
I appreciate that.
I believe, Duchess, niece, they are another victim of Cardis. The spice bribe is why you were and Massam were kidnapped, and that was their doing. It's nice to see you again, Zoshir. I'm glad to see you're well. I'm no longer, I assume you heard, I'm no longer affiliated with the guild, so.
I call in your debt of water, Mr. Zoshir, to service of everything that you have heard discussed in this room. Also, I will admit, it took some skill to get past security. You certainly seem to know what you're doing.
From it.
Do you share any of the details regarding Idaho and the Atreides and Sietch Tabr and all that?
Absolutely. He's gonna start with being sent there with the message. There I met an outsider, Duncan, Idaho. of relation or allyship to House Trades. He has discussed with me a mission that the Harkonnen have been skimming spice and keeping it atop a mountain. It will take a day to scale it, but he has a plan to destroy the place. And he wishes to unite the Fremen and the trustworthy houses. Which, if I tell all the Fremen of the Harkonnens' plans to destroy Shai Hulud, they will be in complete allyship. That is a sacred being to us. That is the old man of the desert.
That's good to hear. You should know that this house is loyal to Kyra. I don't know if that's going to be a problem for you.
No, not at all.
Good. What
Anyone
assistance?
else? Sorry.
What assistance can we provide?
Transportation out of the Harkonnen site that my desert navigation cannot suffice for. Possibly supplies, manpower.
Manpower we can do. Our house is known for our ornithopters. We'll make sure our fastest and most stealthy are sent.
And I
Nice.
will...
I still have friends in the guild as well. I can assist with supplies.
And I will-
Illicit or otherwise.
And I will teach you all the ways of the desert here on Arrakis. It is a matter of life and death.
Did anyone else have any other business they wanted to bring up? Anything else they wanted to discuss before the meeting is adjourned?
Normal will just chime in and say, if the Harkonnens are hoarding spice, and the Emperor finds out, that blockade might happen regardless. To keep the spice in his possession, he would quarantine this whole world.
I may actually have a
Would he?
solution to that. It's very risky. Extremely risky. But it could pay off if it's done right. Thing is whether you guys like to believe it or not, the Hayliner that I was on got hijacked with me on it.
Eloise leans in very interested now.
And thing is they were actually, it was two pile that hijacked that thing. I have a plan for that Hayliner. Right now it's not in the guild's control. I feel like we can do something about that blockade when the time comes.
I think you're correct. But we should.
But it does have something to do with the fact is we need two pile on our side.
I see.
I
So-
am open to being persuaded why we would need a planet of forsaken refugees on our side.
Ones that include the family that has killed so many of us.
Here's
Well-
a fun fact for you, Eloise. It's not one planet, it's several.
I see. Okay. Well, I have no reason to conceal this anymore. Archibald, uncle, it's not one place. It's several planets that we put them on. I would like to meet with your there's no such thing as hijacking a highliner. I would like to meet with your navigator friend. We'll have much to talk about.
Well, considering you're not with the guild anymore, I don't exactly think that's a great idea.
Neither are they.
All I know is that the Sadokar are an elite group. The more help we have, better things are going to be. And in turn, it could be a great ally for us because we can employ trade between the Landsraad, and very lucrative for us too.
I'm not opposed to tearing the Imperium down, but we'd have to tear the Imperium down to employ those at two pile.
Believe me, I know. I have a plan.
Actually, that plan is Kyra's.
Your pile is Kyra's plan?
No. Ripping apart the Imperium.
Mother and daughter shared the same plan. Who knew?
That's going to take a lot of effort, but does she have a method by which she plans to do this?
Oh, she has many methods. I'm inundated in a few of them.
All it will take is a little patience. If you guys don't know, the Atreides and House Carino are not on good terms right now.
House
And
Carino.
at the rate we're going, House Harkonnen and House Carino will also be at odds.
Yep.
House Carino is handing Arrakis to House Atreides. That seems like favorable treatment to me.
So why would the two bitter enemies of House Atreides, of House Harkonnen and Carino, give Arrakis to Atreides?
You seem to know more than I do on this count, Uncle. Do tell.
Don't you see? It's a trap.
The Harkonnens will still be here when the Atreides come.
Eric, sorry, real quick. I still have access to all of the nuclears the information I gleaned about Harkonnen's nuclears. They didn't just magically take them off planet, right?
No, that's one of the things that they brought in. Or
right.
In
No,
the midst of all the
I'm
stuff that they're moving out, that's one thing that they brought in.
I'm saying now that it's come out that like Atreides taking over. Before I got relieved, were there an emotion, or are they just still here?
The Harkonnens are still here. They're supposed to be here for the next month or so.
The atomics specifically.
They didn't have a date that they were going to get shipped back out.
Great. So. All right. So I will be like, the Harkonnens have been subtly shipping their atomics here, which is, okay as far as guild's concerned, as long as they're not used for malicious means. But with my uncle's new knowledge, I don't know the plan for them to be removed, which means they have devastating firepower at their hands still.
Belanda speaks like something out of a textbook. Atomics cannot be used against people. It is illegal. If the Harkonnens were to use a stone burner or any kind of atomic on Arrakis or anywhere, it would be against the Great Convention. And then Mossam looks over to her and kind of like almost with like a smirk on his face, like, but the Harkonnens are not hunting people with atomics. They're hunting a worm.
Yeah, I think Eloise was turning to do the same, and like Mossam beat her to it. Like,
then on top of that, they'll destroy the planet in the process.
Yes, they will. Or they'll just keep them around and use them
So, just to make sure, Archibald would have put the quiet machine that I have in this room.
It's already been activated. Eloise
Okay,
activated.
thank God.
Yeah. Fully. There is other. I have an Exene dampener for a big ass.
We're gonna tear down the Imperium. Oh shit! I forgot to turn this thing
This
on.
is why
No.
Naval was not invited.
Oh, come
was there
on.
anybody
I
else?
love
Speaking
this
of-
plan.
Well, I think Eric was arousing there else. Speaking of, Eloise will turn to Archibald. Uncle, your lady wife. She's not here. I assume there's a reason for that.
Have you met Thea?
I'd like her to be here, but it's also Lady Daphne's decision.
You trust her? You trust her with this, with true family business?
Thing is I gotta have somebody to trust.
You got a room full of people
Eloise will just
currently.
throw like side eye to Amir real quick, just like wait, back.
I have a full room full of people, but we are husband and wife at the end of the day, and it's also detrimental to our house to be able to trust.
Amira
other in
jumps
some
in
way, shape, or
right
form.
there. She jumps in right there. You have a political marriage. That's what that's called. Do you trust your wife or not? Stop dancing around the issue.
Well then. Yes.
Okay.
How much of this are you going to tell her?
Not much. I won't tell her of anything. Honestly, she knows what I told her already.
What did you tell her?
She only knows about the Hayliner. Obviously, she was on it with us. But I will have to give her something.
We are...
Tell her my reveal. Tell her my reveal that I've been working as Adelaide's agent in the guild for 12 years.
And the thing is the one that said the political marriage, I'm going to look over and I'm going to say, this may be a political marriage, but it's also got our house on it.
It's got
So
your
in
house
my
what?
opinion, what?
I didn't understand what you said. Your house what?
Oh, it also has my house, like, God, okay. I'm going to look over and I'm going to say, this, yes, it may be a political marriage, but I also have my house on the strings for this. There has to be some sort of trust between her and me, and she needs to at least know something of what's going on in here.
Tell her
If we
that...
don't work together, then
Tell
we're not
her
gonna
that the
do so.
house that we've been feuding with, House of Clardus, are making a few flailing, dying gasps at us, and we are defending ourselves.
I'm also fine with her knowing my defection, because if it comes out, I know where to look. She'll look directly at Amir and then turn back to Archibald.
Yep.
Alright, so... I believe the next order of business. Norma, would you please make contact with Kyra? We'd like to speak with her.
Certainly, Duchess.
Zoshir, Stilgar knows everything that I know, but I could use a go-between to coordinate between Cheshire and Fremen. So whatever...
I would be honored.
Thank you. Archibald, I think you're going to have your hands full with your Highliner and your wife both.
Indeed.
And Eloise,
Yes.
do you have any interest in trying to return to the guild?
I think the Baron and Baron Harkonnen has made sure that's not an option. It would cost them too much to bring you back. My contacts remain, but if you'll have me again, I am happy to return to House Cheshire in whatever capacity you'll have me.
I am known to be overly sentimental when it comes to family. You are welcome back with open arms.
Excellent. I'm at your service then, Duchess.
Thank you. I think it's best if you and Archibald work together on the issue of this highliner. I know it's difficult, but I think you're the only person who could understand how this was hijacked and the implications it might have for future transit.
I kind of volunteered once I learned about the hijacking. You cannot hijack a navigator, and as someone on the road to becoming one herself, this is someone who is willing to hear what we have to say. Am I correct, Uncle?
Yes, but I have one condition on that. I want to be in the room.
Very well.
I don't want any of this going, obviously. I don't want any of this going back to the guild. And just the fact that you're freshly out, I don't trust that connection.
Well, it's quite obvious. I've accepted Eloise back into the house, and I am demanding answers regarding how my uncle and his wife died on a guild highliner.
You will get them.
Mr. Reed, your security is, looks at Zoshir, far more extensive than I would have anticipated. You are doing well.
Thank you.
Is there anything... I don't know that I can tell you to do anything, because I feel I would just be wasting services of a good mentat.
As of this moment, simply like to make you aware that in the early hours of the morning, there was very recently an explosion, killing 6 individuals. The 7th individual was found dead nearby the scene. I'm still investigating this incident, but in light of this, I suggest that everyone be more cautious,
Do we know who
seeing
the
as it
people...
had occurred within proximity to the palace.
Do we know who the people are involved? The victims?
The victims.
Dr.
And
Sloan raises his
Reed will
hand.
look to Dr. Sloan.
There were 6 individuals that were killed by the blast. Some sort of thermite explosives, military style. The last one, the 7th victim, was murdered at point blank with some sort of a projectile weapon, poisoned to death. No sign of the accuser, the attacker.
What kind of poison, Dr. Sloan?
Something akin to a botany style poison, kind that kills instantly. Doesn't paralyze nerves, it just attacks your internal organs, makes you bleed internally. You die.
Similar to the poison Lysander was given?
No, that one attacked the nerves specifically. It stopped him in his tracks, and it would have continued to do so, but it acted much more slowly in comparison. This was some sort of a fast-acting poison that stopped the heart and the internal organs instantly. The subject began to hemorrhage almost immediately and died as a result of the effects of this poison.
We know who he was. Do we have a description?
Yes, he really describes him, or actually he shows you a hollow of his face as he was just finishing, looking at the bodies in his lab. It was the man with the eye patch over his eye that you met at the starport. Archibald, when you see the face of the guy who died in this explosion last night, it's Reese, the leader of those mercenaries that were on the Hayliner. Looks like he didn't get his money after all.
Yep, I'm gonna say, well, it looks like he didn't get his money after all.
What do you mean?
I beg your pardon.
What does that mean?
He was my contact. He's the one I made to deal with to get off the Hayliner alive.
He's the person who hijacked the Highliner.
Yeah. He's the leader, anyways.
Not anymore.
Anymore. But that also comes up to a opportunity for us. Right now, they're probably scrambled. They don't know what the hell to do.
If they really did steal the spice bribe to pay for your murder, and Eloise and Zoshir and Pardot retrieved it, that's probably why they died. They couldn't pay you. They couldn't pay him.
Which tells me they have no spice.
The navigator needs spice.
Yep.
I would like.
It's also worth considering that they may never have planned to pay their mercenaries to begin with.
Yep.
If they were refugees of no known house, I would. Knowing this, Mr. Reed, please go over the scene again.
Please.
I
would love to hear everything.
I suspect more of Cardis' involvement.
So I have one other thing I would like to mention. Me and Yeva are dead. I think it'd be wise for us to keep it that way, especially with what we want to do with Two-Pile.
I have an idea.
I'm all yours.
You are Tiberius.
I joined the club.
There we go.
Pardot was like eyes rolled back into his head trying to reconstruct the entire crime scene from memory, and then his eyes just roll back. Like, what? That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Excellent. So this house meeting has taken place over the course of several hours. So after a while, you adjourn or you take a break. It starts to get dark outside. Lady Daphne, you receive a call from the front door. Your date is here.
Oh, stall him for a few minutes. And Daphne rushes up to her quarters, puts on the nice dress, the nice perfume, freshens up her makeup.
Excellent. You put your stuff together and you're like, oh, I'm the hostess here. Or would you like to have dinner with your guest? Would you like to clear the dinner room of all your guests, of your family here, and attend to him as such?
No, we're going back to the conservatory and just have like a really nice table
Intimate.
set for 2 people. Yeah, minimal servants, nice, fresh food.
Excellent. Mapes makes it happen. And then this gentleman shows up to your front door. The cooks have prepared a meal for you.
Fuck, I thought it was the other guy.
Surprise.
That's fine, I'll roll with it.
The first course is a big rabbit pie, followed by cactus soup, and then some sort of hairless bird, and with dates served over couscous, and for dessert there's some fresh off-world Caladan melons. He greets you, of course, but before you begin to talk to one another inside the conservatory, he activates his privacy, his exchange device. to ensure maximum privacy.
Okay.
So now only you two can hear each other. My house and I have been involved in Imperial politics long enough to know that Raban's little stunt with this worm hunt is nothing more than a way to make himself look good in the eyes of his uncle, the Baron. I know this because Raban himself has previously hunted sandworms successfully decades ago. This is no different. But put plainly, Raban does not expect us to succeed. He expects us to fail. This way, he can come in and do what he thinks will allow him to win favor. By doing away with one of the many factors that we have contributed to the Harkonnen failure on Arrakis with spice production, he also wins favor with the Emperor. With this in mind, I have a proposition. We appease Raban by petitioning the Emperor for aid with the worm hunt. The idea is to have a colonel or even a bashar from the Imperial Sardaukar assigned to Arrakis, so that when we fail to capture or destroy the worm, the failure will fall squarely on the military mind that was given to us. Of course, if they happen to succeed, both our houses will be able to claim credit for the win. This grants us favor with the Emperor, the Baron, and even Raban. I can make this happen politically, and I can make sure that your name sits side by side with mine on the resolution when it is unveiled in the Landsraad. And he takes that moment to just kind of like inch his gloved hands closer to yours, as a sign of affection.
So Daphne is clearly lost in thought because she's so essentially, who is more likely to call for a stone burner to be used? Is it a Sardaukar or is it Selgalot?
Or Raban, since apparently he's killed sandworms in the past. He's like, oh, please proceed.
You mentioned Raban has killed sandworms in the past. How has he accomplished this?
I do not know the details of this. This is one thing that he keeps close to the chest, yes?
I see. I've heard rumors that the Fremen hold this particular sandworm in some degree of reverence. I suspect they'll be keeping an eye on him.
On who?
The quarry.
Not sure what you mean.
White Death.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like a mining quarry, and I'm like, no.
No, hunting
Okay,
quarry.
no, I get what you're saying. Of course. In exchange for this favor, your house can provide an introduction to House Atreides and their Duke, as well as some intelligence we can gift them as a gesture of goodwill. After all, we all know which way the wind is currently blowing on Arrakis, and we would like to be considered allies of the ruling house here. Surely your time serving the Harkonnens, you have come across some level of corruption or malfeasance we can grant their enemy in return for political favor. And with that, he kind of like fully touches your hands, like in between the plates and stuff, like trying to charm it off of you.
I think we can do business.
Oh, delightful to hear.
I think that Imperial oversight would be quite welcome for this display. Perhaps we might also involve the I'm blanking on the name, the overseer of the change.
Judge of the change.
Judge of the change.
Yeah.
Since this is happening at such a pivotal time in the planet's history.
Indeed it is. I'm sure we can both walk away from this as winners. I think you would agree, yes?
I agree.
Always a pleasure, he says.
Always.
With that, like, he takes a piece of melon and he just kind of like playfully puts it right in your mouth.
Daphne will flirt a little bit, but won't go too far because she's still suspicious of this dude.
Yeah, he's just like, you're getting all the creepy vibes from this guy, and you're just like, you're smiling through your teeth at him, and he's just like,
No, I'm gonna use the thing that I have, the awareness.
oh,
I'm going to spend a
hyper-awareness.
momentum.
aha.
Same question that I asked when I met the other guy. What does Nikolai want?
Ah. Alright, 1 second. Find something. I just need to double check something about your talents.
It's one threat to information
Is
for
that-
hyper awareness. Yeah,
Oh.
hyper awareness is one threat to information, but you can spend momentum for information as well. It's just not the same
Ah.
because you can ask a question about the current situation with momentum, but with the hyper awareness, it's gleaning information that you
Yeah.
otherwise wouldn't know.
So go ahead and roll understand politics, Daphne, and if you get 2 successes or more, you can go ahead and spend that point of momentum, and you can ask me whatever question you want. Like, what is it that he really wants?
Alright, I'm spending another point of momentum for another dice. You know what? We're full on momentum. I'm going for broke. I'm spending 3 momentum for 2 extra dice.
You're actually at 1 right now after that, but yes.
Yes,
Because
that's
you
fine.
lose momentum in between scenes, but that's fine. Yeah, so go ahead and roll.
Alright, this is understand
Mhm.
with truth.
Does your house politics count for this? This
Uh,
focus?
I also have social awareness and
House
Canly if they
politics.
count.
Not Canley, but house politics definitely does.
Alright. So I get 2 extra dice, so that's 4 total.
Very good. So you get 1 momentum back, and I have an answer to your question. Just like a lot of nobles, he wants power, but the way that he's going about it is very, very specific. This guy belongs to House Gliss, who are experts in house politics. They are a minor house. You are a major house. He's trying to work himself into your house by making a political alliance through this little juncture here. By basically knowing that you and the Harkonnens are kind of like at odds, he's banking on that and using that as a way to get in. He wants to be the Duke of House Cheshire, because if he does that, then he has a direct connection to House Atreides. And that's where we'll stop.
If I get one more question?
Oh, sure.
What's up with the Samuda addiction?
Ah, with the burned off fingerprints?
Mm-hmm.
He's an addict.
Okay. He's out of the running. Sorry, dude.
Yep. No, can't do it.
Good
Well,
choice. Really trained you well.
Good choice. I agree.
That's all the time we have for this session. I hope everyone here and those watching enjoyed the show. We'll continue our adventures into the Imperium next Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's go around the virtual tabletop one last time and reintroduce our wonderful cast, beginning with Devin.
Hello, one. Hello, all. Goodbye as well. I am Devin. I have been the lady in mourning and planning and all things truthful and honest, Norma. And next time you'll see me is on Monday for some wonderful Dragon Age.
Awesome. Ambrose.
Hey everybody, I've enjoyed playing Zoshir Tabr for you this evening / morning / day / anyway. You find me all over the internet as Am Changeling. You can find me on Etsy at Thornkind. You can find me playing again Monday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Dragon Age. I now return to being 3 ferrets in a cherry. I don't know.
Leo.
Cherry.
Oh, my name is Leo. You can find me at Leo the Black out here on Twitch. Tomorrow, I do plan on streaming. I know it's been a while for me, but I've had a lot going on in my life, and yeah, I'd love to see you guys there. But other than that, I have played Archibald for you, where we did a lot of sneaky things, and I actually got permission to liberate Tulpine. I'm quite happy with that. Now Eric's gonna fuck me.
I mean, permission
Key.
from whom?
Major house, technically.
Technically, no. No.
What are you talking about? Okay.
Hi,
Kisama.
I'm Kisama. You can find me on Twitter at TrueKisama. And I've been Pardot Reed.
Excellent. Aaron.
Hello, everyone. I am Aaron. You can find me on Cthulhu pretty much everywhere. I think next place you can find me is Thursday at my lovely partner Drea LaFay's channel, playing Grounded with our friend Teacup Kaizad. And then back here again, obviously, for my favorite fucking thing to do on Fridays. I was playing Eloise Cheshire, who has a... This was a very surprising, traumatic session for me. I'm now no longer a guild member, back to the threshold. Hooray. Yes.
Excellent. And last but not least, of course, Rachel.
Hello, I was not emotionally prepared to be called on. Hello, my name is Rachel. Welcome to Stolen Fires. Thank you everyone for the follows tonight. Thank you for the subscriptions. You are a wonderful, beautiful audience. I have been Lady Daphne, who, wow. I was also not expecting things to go the way they did tonight, but it was amazing. You will find me here on Monday running Victory, Vigilance, and Sacrifice, a Dragon Age story of the Fourth Blight. I'm a total Dragon Age lore whore, so it should be a lot of fun. Then after that, there will be Curse of Strahd. She is the Ancient. It's Curse of Strahd, but run with a gender-flipped mod that you can find on the DM's Guild. She is the Ancient. And then Wednesday, I will be streaming some Dragon Age 2, the video game, because I'm just that much of a lore whore for Dragon Age. Oh yeah, and we've got Girl by Moonlight. It's going to be a pre-recorded show. It's going to air on this channel probably Tuesdays. So it will be pre-recorded, so no live interaction. But that's just the way that works best for cast and crew. But it should be tons of fun. All right. Oh no,
Awesome.
Curse of Strahd is on hiatus, but you can watch the Oh no, we lost someone.
Oh no. Who we lose?
Devin, we lost Devin.
Oh.
Oh,
Sorry,
crud.
Devin.
Devin ran away. But you can watch the VODs of what we have already done on YouTube. They usually post within a day or two. Yeah, subscribe on YouTube. We're on the long, slow trek to 1,000. I've got 5.
I've been Eric at Modern Recluse Online. You can find me back here Friday night for this. And a big thanks as always to our viewers and fans for tuning in. And remember, never sit with your back to the door. Always remember your shield emitter and be careful with whom you trust, for in the game of houses, nothing is truly as it seems. Good night, everyone.